Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, the entire state of Utah, those listening on planet Mars. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground. Along with me is the Duchess of Doing Wikipedia, Danielle Alexandre. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
You feeling all right?
Yeah, I am. Still a little tired, but I'm doing all right.
A little tired? Mm-hmm. Felt driving around this week. We were kind of back on the road this week.
Yeah, I wasn't really prepared for it because we went so long without having to travel so much. Because we had like 2 months off. So now getting used to being back on the road 2 or 3 days out of every week has been a challenge.
I can understand. I can absolutely understand that. Is everything all right over there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You had a look on your face. Let me introduce him first. The Prime Minister of all things that are said sinister, Greg Bowen. How are you doing, sir?
Spectacular. A little gimpy this morning.
A little gimpy, huh?
Yeah, I broke my toe.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember
Trying to
seeing
teach your son a physics lesson. Is that what it is?
Unintentionally.
Unintentionally? Well, at least you can use your injury in order to educate.
Yeah, I did.
That's a good
It was
time.
a teachable moment.
It was. He now fully understands inertia.
So does your toe.
Yeah. It's wishing I did, too.
Actually, your toe probably already understood it before.
Yeah.
It didn't like that you tried to teach it another lesson.
Yeah, it was not the first time I broke that toe either.
Oh, gosh.
Ooh. I've stubbed my toe a lot of times, but I don't ever think I've ever broke it.
I have done it several times.
You've done it several times, though.
Yeah.
You know why? It's because when you're moving, you mean it.
Yeah, that's true. I walk with a purpose.
Maybe I shouldn't be so wishy-washy in my steps.
People have said that about me before, that I walk with a purpose.
You walk with a purpose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that couch jumped out in front of you.
Exactly. It had a purpose, too.
Exactly. Well, I hope everybody is doing well. Hope everybody's having a good time. Danielle, you having a good time
I
today?
hate that. I'm not even going to talk to you when you're doing that voice.
There are individuals that have expressed joy in my voices.
No, there are individuals that express entertainment over my reaction to that voice.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'm done.
All right. Let's just get right to the news, huh? We're gonna start in New York City. This is a great story. It's a great continuing story, even though it's probably something that isn't talked about a whole lot. I love this story though, and it's the story about New York. It's about a city, and it's about a police department in a city that unintentionally have shown a lot that libertarians have been trying to say for a while.
Libertarian.
Yeah. Well, and also that it doesn't pay.
Which is something we also knew.
Yeah, we knew both of these. We were just trying to educate everybody else. But everybody knows about the slowdown by the New York City Police Department at the start of the year. And now we've gotten to the point now where they actually have some figures to show how much money that the city has lost now because of the police only really sticking to crimes that had a victim or things that they had to arrest people for.
I love that they call it they were only doing necessary. They were only going after suspects when it was necessary. And then work slowed down like 94%. So that means 94% of everything they do was unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Like, I don't even think that, I wonder if people, like the general public, even understood that.
Like the irony of all that.
Yeah, like, if 94% of what you were doing wasn't necessary, then what were you doing that stuff for?
Yeah, maybe we should reevaluate your job description if 94% of what you do all day is unnecessary. I mean, think about this. If you owned a business and you had an employee and you realized 94% of their job was unnecessary, keep them around, or you know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't you kind of reevaluate the job and see if maybe there was some better ways to do it since you were wasting 96% of your time?
Yeah. Well, it looks like New York City. Now, it's from the start of the year. It's cost the city an estimated $5 million in lost fines. $3 million of that has come from parking tickets, unwritten parking tickets. I guess is what they're.
Well, because they're not writing parking tickets.
They're not writing parking tickets. So the last 3 weeks, the police issued about 44,000 fewer parking tickets than during the same period last year. So it looks to me like this actually $5 million is from the beginning of the year. So
right.
Wow. $5 million in parking tickets, or $3 million in parking tickets from the beginning of the year.
Today's the 15th.
The 15th.
So these things were not necessary for the safety of the public, but they were necessary for the city's budget.
For the budget, yeah.
Yes.
These definitely. Now, de Blasio has actually said that if police don't start writing tickets and going after these things, that he is going to be taking away their paid leave, their paid sick time, their paid vacation.
They can't afford it.
If they don't, well, yeah. If they don't get to their quota, that's what his thing was. If you don't get back to your quota, but there's no such thing as quotas.
Right. Well,
no, there's a minimum job requirement.
Yeah, you gotta at least recoup the money for your salary, and they're not. And they're just going after necessary issues, and so now the mayor is. And everybody is kind of fighting back. The government now is retaliating, saying, well, we're going to take your benefits then.
Yeah. Well, and it looks like the police, the police unions, they've been talking with the, with the mayor's office, and they've been cooperative in recent meetings. And so it looks like the fight is pretty much over at this point, and that they're going to start getting back to, issuing more tickets, giving more fines. Back to the way that it was.
Back to harassing people.
Yeah, back to harassing people. It's sad that that's what's going to happen. I really do wish that that they would learn a valuable lesson there. But I think the valuable lesson that they're learning is in order for all of them to keep their jobs, they have to actually write everybody tickets.
Harass people.
Harass people, for lack of a better term.
They have to continue to be the rolling tax collecting service.
Right.
and that's what, and in many ways, that's what they are.
And in the shutdown, the only thing that was hurt by the police only going after necessary crimes was the budget, because nobody in New York was complaining. So it wasn't like there was like huge traffic jams because of illegal parking or anything. Like none of the things that they decided not to go after became a problem in New York. The only issue that they had was the budget shortfall.
None of the citizens were going, I haven't got 3 parking tickets this month. What's going on here? You guys are not doing your job.
Yeah. It's sad. It really is. I understand how libertarians lose their mind. I do. I really, truly do understand why some people consider libertarians to be crazy, because we end up losing our minds because we see situations like this, think that maybe they'll just get it, and then see, well, we're just going to return back to normal. The New York Police Commissioner William Bratton said this week that enforcement was returning to normal. Officers are going back to work, and we're seeing improvement each passing day, Bratton said. Like, not the realization that what you were doing before wasn't the right thing to do. Like, that would have been nice. But we didn't get that, though. We get, oh, well, now we're done punishing you people, so now we're going to go back to the way that it was. And that'll be the happy days. It's almost like they're doing the city, the citizens of New York a favor. Like, we're doing you a favor, we doesn't matter, we're gonna start writing some tickets now so people feel better about things. People like the tickets,
Yeah, no, none of the people like the tickets.
No,
none of them.
Well, I think the mayor liked the tickets.
Well, the only people who like the tickets are the people who wanted a larger budget.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You want to know why socialism doesn't work? I mean, let's just look at this right here, because that's what it is.
Eventually, you run out of other people's money.
Yeah. So you got to make sure that you increase fines to arrest more people in order to make budget. Like, I wonder if people even understand that part, is that if they don't arrest people, if they don't give you tickets, they don't make their budgets.
And that's what they're considering the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem now.
Nobody was unsafe. There was any issue of public safety, or, the public was not having this big outcry going, well, when people are illegally parking all over the place, it's creating all this traffic problem. No, nobody was complaining except the people who are like, oh man, our budget is going to hell here.
Yeah. Again, I understand why libertarians lose their mind.
It's like it was working.
They actually had they had some libertarians up there that were passing out cigarettes for free or for donations.
Oh yeah.
To the party as a way to protest.
Nice.
One of the city affiliates in New York of the Libertarian Party, a protest where they handed out loose cigarettes to anyone walking by for any donation. So you could give any amount of money and get a loose cigarette.
That's beautiful. We should do more of that. We should definitely do more of that.
Cigarettes are expensive in New York.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Definitely they were.
And again, we talked about this. We talked about this during a couple weeks back when this first happened. But the city of New York, because of their high tax rate on cigarettes, created the black market. Right. That most of the cigarettes sold in New York City are sold via the black market, which is the one thing that led to Eric Gardner's death. And there's never been any talk of, well, maybe we ought to lower the tax so we can get rid of the black market. Because they have to realize that enforcement, obviously, even when they were writing tickets to everybody and their mother, wasn't getting it done.
Right.
But, of course that's not gonna work. Why would that be? Why would that solve anything? Why would the elimination of the black market by getting this government regulation that fines you crazy amounts of money for smoking cigarettes and fines you, charges you that kind of a stupid tax on the cigarettes, create the black market? Why would you want to think about getting rid of that? I mean,
you just don't want people to work, Alex. Do you realize how many jobs that creates? There are entire departments of people employed because of that cigarette.
You're right. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. Government works. Totally works. These guys only prove more every day why there's no... they are making libertarians every day.
Yes.
They are making more and more of them every day. They really are. I mean, look, you saw the polling that came out?
The growth of the party is not our ability to articulate our ideas or the friendliness of our personalities.
This party is growing despite of our party.
Exactly. It is growing because of the government's example.
Exactly. There is another thing to be said for that. Hold on, there's another point I'd like to make here. I do find it a little bit ironic that loudmouth, opinionated people who said, I'm leaving and I'm coming over to the LP, somehow have an issue coming to a party that has loudmouth, opinionated people. Because I've seen a lot of times where people will come in and say, well, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this, and really are being very loudmouth and very opinionated. And the response that you get from libertarians is like, no, we're not going to do that. And they're being very loudmouth and opinionated back. And that person goes, well, I don't like that we don't get along. It's like, well, hold on a second here, guy. You are a loudmouth, opinionated person coming into a party full of those people and then having a problem with those people. It's like the Groucho Marx thing. I'd never belong to an organization that would have me as a member. That's what happens, man. Just the way it is, man. What are you going to do? I'm so happy that we were at least able to see a little bit of this for New York. And I'd never moved there anyway. I'd never live in New York City. There's way too many people in one place for me. But at least they had a little bit of a reprieve. The citizens did. And maybe this will teach them or show them that when things go back to normal, that it's not cool and that they need to change out their leadership. Because right now they really have, in all intents and purposes, the person that's in charge in New York City, the mayor, Blasio, is a socialist. Yeah. No getting around that. He is a socialist. I mean, he really is,
And they've had a long line of that.
Yeah, in some ways, yeah. I mean, different aspects of it. Some of them not as much outwardly socialist as others, but, this guy, he's not kidding around. He really likes it, Marx wasn't a bad guy. And I'm talking about Groucho Marx. But at any rate, Again, I have no way to segment to immigration, so I'm just going to say it. I couldn't even think of a way to do it. I was sitting here thinking of a way to segment.
Is that why you just kept talking?
Yeah, I was thinking of a way to segment to immigration. I couldn't
and here's the thing: talking about bad leaders.
Oh yeah,
there you go.
That'd have been a good way to do it.
Speaking of socialist leadership,
exactly.
You're just not imaginative enough on these segues.
Yeah.
Look, I'm wondering if Obama would rather, like, you know how the World Wars, I was on History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
You ever seen this, the World Wars? Mm-hmm. I wonder if Obama then watched this and were rooting for the Russians the whole time.
I would hope that he would know the end of the movie.
Well, I think he's probably just given like a what if scenario. Like what if the Russians were to have just won everything and then turned everybody socialist right then and there, instead of the long drawn out process that we've had to deal with to get to the point where we have, a socialist in charge.
I don't know. He could be. I would think that, at this point he should know the end. But maybe, maybe it was like, oh, maybe it goes different this time.
If he understood the end, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. Obviously, he didn't understand. Obviously, he disagrees with the. No.
I don't understand how people still think that this is a great ideology, that this is what we should be striving for, because there are so many examples of its failure everywhere it's ever been attempted. Yeah. I mean, full communism fails every time. Even the socialism, like what we see in Europe, a lot of these countries, they've institutionalized all of these socialist programs, yet now they're talking about budget pitfalls. And they're trying to be more creative with their money and come up with the way to fund all of these things. And so the failure of communism and socialist policies, is apparent to anyone that's paying attention. Why do people keep? I don't understand.
Ask a person in Europe that isn't in the rich elite category, economically, financially, and ask them how socialized medicine is working for them, and they'll say, well, I can never get into the doctor, only the rich can. If I have an ailment, I can get an appointment in 3 months, which by that time I'm, either dead or it's over with, so I can't get into the doctor for months. But if I have enough money, if I'm the rich, then I'll get in right away. So this whole socialized, like, we're going to make everything even, doesn't, in every single country where it is happening, even in places like Europe, where we would say that they do have, kind of freedom compared to some of the communist countries, it doesn't work. Only the rich elite are getting these services at a reasonable time frame. Everybody else will get them for free, but it won't be in any time frame that would make sense.
Well, no, it's absolutely true. You're right, Greg. I don't understand why it is there. And I've talked to some people that are. I have a buddy of mine who's a socialist. He's a communist, and I'm not saying it is a pejorative.
He would probably admit, yeah.
It is a pejorative, but I'm not saying it is a pejorative. And he would tell you that it's workers' rights and it's looking out for the little guy, and that capitalism is bad. Capitalism is the problem, and not anything else. And then all these other people that did socialism, by the way.
Yeah, that's what it always is. Oh well, they just did it wrong.
They were bad leaders.
Well, it's been tried so many different ways. People, I mean, it is that the problem is still the fact that you have to put somebody at the top to administer these programs and make them happen, and people are still corrupted by power, whether it's a capitalist, communist, socialist, whatever kind of government you set up, the people at the top are going to be corrupted and want to pile things up for themselves and their friends and their buddies, and everybody else can just deal with it. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what type of government you have, that's what always happens. So instead of enabling them policies to say, here, you take everything and redistribute it for us, and they're going to go, well, I'm going to take what I want, which is pretty much everything, and give you guys the scraps. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, and it stymies. The other thing that it does is it stymies innovation.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It stymies, and people are going to go, well, the government created this, and the government created this. No, people created that, not the government. Who's to say what we would have had the government not gotten involved anyway, though? Yeah. I mean,
we could be much further along.
Let's look at the automobile industry right now. let's look at where we're at right now when it comes to the technology in automobiles. And people are going to go, well, we have great technology in automobiles. No, we don't. We get about the same kind of gas mileage that we've always gotten. It hasn't really gotten that much better. In reality, look, you used to be able to get 50 miles a gallon in a diesel vehicle like 30 years ago.
Yeah, you could.
Some ways it's gone down in some of the vehicles.
And if it wasn't for the government being in bed with the oil companies and them pretty much dictating what we're allowed to do, we probably wouldn't be running on oil anymore. We wouldn't be talking about gas mileage because we'd be using a different power source by now.
It could very possibly well be, and I think that has as much to do with the taxes that are collected via the gas tax that they wouldn't know how to do it another way, and being able to fund their, who's going to make the roads projects, which they've screwed up. Again, this whole government road thing is pissing me off because I've driven on the government roads and every one of them is under construction and they all suck.
The time. There was the
only ones that are even worth a damn are the ones I got to pay for extra to go and drive.
We were driving, and we go to Tallahassee a lot, or we're constantly having to go, and so you get to I-75. And there used to be a stretch, like once you got kind of past our county where there's a lot of traffic, you would hit some of the northern counties and they're very rural. Nobody's on the interstate except for a few people, and it was a nice drive. I would look forward to hitting that line where I knew that traffic was going to kind of go away and I was going to have this nice ride. And they have decided to put a construction project at exactly that line for 36 miles north, all at the same time. So for 36 miles, it's construction. You can't move. There's bumps in the road. It went from this nice smooth, the roads were beautiful, they were nice, there wasn't a lot of traffic, to a horrible mess for no reason.
There was no reason to do anything to these roads whatsoever, and yet they decided in their own infinite wisdom that these are the roads that they should be messing with right now. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the government and the roads argument anymore because that argument is not valid. And here's the thing: I don't know how many miles other people drive on the road, but I'm probably going to guarantee that I'm beating 90% population when it comes to miles driven and how many times I've been on 75. So I'm the duty expert.
I've been on every road in this state.
These people fail, and they fail big time. If I was governor, I literally would say, we're going to finish every road project right now, and we're going to do a moratorium on road projects for a year just so you guys can get your head out of your ass.
Well, if it was me, I'd get rid of it. And you know who's going to build the roads? Disney. You ever been on Disney property? They got pristine roads. There ain't a problem with a single one of their roads. They don't even have a broken sidewalk on their property. That's who's going to do our roads.
That is true. Disney roads are beautiful to travel on and never under construction.
Yeah, I mean, you want an example of who should do the roads? It's Disney.
Yeah.
And they should also do the transportation because, man, I can pick up a Disney bus in seconds.
Absolutely. You ever been on Disney's monorail? You want somebody to do the public transportation? Let's get Disney doing a monorail across the state of Florida. It'll come in under budget and overperforming.
If you stay at a Disney resort, they have like a bus line that takes you. You can get to all the parks and that. Man, you're almost like can't get to the bus stop. And then if you miss that bus, it's like, oh, there's the next one. No problem.
Yeah, it's okay. There's another one coming right behind it.
All right, well, let's get to immigration.
Sorry, we totally ruined your segue.
Oh, no, that's okay.
You found a way to segue to it, and we ruined it.
No, we got off the path a long time ago. So, Danielle, do you know...
Yeah, I know.
Start this one off.
We actually talked about this before, where when Obama unveiled his kind of immigration policy, where he wanted to make it so that people who had been here illegally, I think prior to 2010, and had, no legal problems, things like that, and had children here that were born here, get a path to at least being a permanent resident and not be under this, deportation kind of scare. Now, when, of course, they won a super House, but when the Republican Immigration Initiative, which they could do. So there's been a big back and forth between the White House and Congress over what we're going to do with immigration policy. Now, the Obama administration have basically looked to say, we're not going to be looking to deport undocumented immigrants. That now if they've committed another crime, then we will start deportation processes. But if they haven't committed any other crime except for being here illegally, we're just kind of taking a hands-off approach on this.
Yeah.
Well, now the Congress is starting to push back on this. So now they're starting to try to kind of move some funding to where these like Homeland Security and things like that are going to have to start deporting these immigrants. And these are not people who have broken. You have to have not broken any other law. You had to, show that you're employed. To not be deported, you have to show that you're actually not on assistance, that you're self-sufficient, and that you haven't committed any other crimes. And then the government just wasn't deporting you. Now Congress is pushing back on that, basically saying we have to get rid of people.
So even if they didn't commit any other crime, we're still we're going to get rid of them.
And even if they're on zero government assistance, that they're self-sufficient and their family is sufficient and not actually contributing to the economy and things like that, then it doesn't matter. They got to go.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't really have a problem with that old policy.
With which policy?
With the policy of letting them stay. If they're not causing any
Right.
problems, then there's no need to go through deportation.
Why are we going to spend money on an expensive deportation process of someone who's committing no crimes, contributing to our economy, and is taking no taxpayer resources?
Not a bad idea. Look, the whole system in and of itself is screwed up beyond repair.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, we have to scrap what we do and we have to start completely over. Or we're always going to be in this mess. Look, when Reagan, in the 80s, Reagan's like, well, we're going to give amnesty all these, right? That'll fix the problem. It didn't fix the problem because we ran into it again. And then they think we're just going to do another round of these things, which is what Obama wants to do. But that's not going to fix the problem either, though. At the end of the day, the problem is the thought process about immigrants coming into this country is the problem. It's like the cigarette tax in New York City. You created an incentive for illegal immigration. If you want to come here legally and go through the channels, lawyers a bunch of money, and you got to pay the government a bunch of money, and then you can come here legally. Now, the rules and the laws were written up by, take a guess, lawyers. Mm-hmm. Who have set up a system to help their lawyer buddies in the immigration side get paid a little bit extra money. Mm-hmm. To make sure that these guys have an industry that they can use in order to get paid very well. Lawyers are screwing this thing up. Again, most of this stuff is all the lawyers' fault anyway, but you guys have set up a system that's incentivized illegal immigration, decentivized legal immigration, and gotten away from the core tenet of this country. And the core tenet of the country is, look, this country was built on immigration, will continue to be built on immigration, and that we should allow people to come to this country if they want to better their lives, and that we should have a border, we should have people guarding that border, at least in my opinion, from defense, from attack, in case somebody's going to come and attack us or whatever. But I also think that we should be, if somebody says they want to come to the country, that there is some kind of a medical screening that's involved in that. You know what I mean? I don't want people that are diseased to come to the country. I think that is a health concern, because if we've eliminated a disease in this country through whatever means we've done it through, and that the population is not necessarily ready to defend that themselves from that disease, bringing new people in from other countries that have that disease is not a good thing.
And I don't necessarily want to reject them either. I don't have a problem with putting them in quarantine until it's passed or
where they get proper
whatever.
medical attention.
Come back when you're fixed.
Well, no, they don't have the proper medical care in their own country. That's why they come here.
That ain't my fault.
No, I'm
paying for that.
I completely disagree with you on that. Then
Form a charity.
I'm okay. I'm okay with them being put into quarantine to get proper medical care from our doctors.
So you're trying to put people in FEMA camps?
No, I want.
No, I'm just kidding.
You're really going to make it to where you're doing the show without me today.
Come on, baby.
Listen, I just don't see turning someone away back to a country where they can't get proper care. If they've done nothing wrong, they're not a criminal, they're coming with their family, they want to make a better life here. I understand making sure they get proper care before they get to where, our other citizens that are here are getting into problems. But I can't see just sending them back and saying, oh, wow.
Well, let me ask you another question about that, though. You brought up another good point. So criminal background checks are also something you do.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with making sure we're not allowing criminals into the country.
Yeah, if you like are a known member of MS-13, no, you're not coming in from Mexico.
Right.
We're not going to let individuals in where.
Is that like a new operating system? So
no.
if you use MS-13, you're not allowed to be here.
No, that's one of the Mexican drug cartel street gangs.
Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
He's not down with the lingo.
No.
If
You got a problem with the lingo, I say?
if you're a fugitive from another country, no, you're not going to get to
Right.
come in here to get away. We run you through a database, whether it's an Interpol database, our own Homeland Security database, checking with your country of origin to see if there's any outstanding crimes or warrants or anything. And if you clear all that, then you can come in. And we quarantine you. Other than that, there's really no reason for us to stop people from coming in. There's plenty of room. There's plenty of resources. It's not like there's some kind of scarcities that going on that we have to keep people from coming in.
There's a perceived scarcity.
But that's not real.
I understand it's not real, but there is a perceived scarcity when it comes to land, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to resources. There is a perceived scarcity. I'm not saying that's an excuse on why you don't do it. I'm saying that's one thing.
And that's the problem with letting those people in, because they're going to come in and show us that there's no scarcity.
There's no scarcity.
They're like, oh, I can't get a job. Watch me make one for myself.
Right.
Watch me create my own business. Watch me do what I came here to do and take part in the American dream and create my own business and create my own life and be successful, because I can't do it in my country.
Don't yell at me, Greg.
I just, these things aren't real. I mean, it's we produce enough food in this country to, like, nobody should ever be going home hungry. We waste enough food to feed everybody. And we have a government that has created regulations to where we can't feed people, we have to waste it.
Yeah, you have to throw the food out.
Yeah, you have to throw food out instead of feeding people. There's no scarcity on resources. We have plenty of coal. The reason why gas prices are so low right now is because we finally started producing what we could have produced this entire time.
Actually, that part is kind of funny, actually. That is one of the things that, like, it's amazing that, look, I don't think we should give Obama credit for really anything, because he ain't really the one that's doing it.
Right.
However, it's being done. He is the president. I'm surprised they don't do more to tout that. But, I mean, I know why they don't, because there's a large base of their party, of the Democrats, that are, anti-oil. They don't want us drilling for oil or anything like that. But now that we're, like, the number one producer in the world, he don't even get to use that.
Right.
Yeah.
Like he really doesn't get to use it the way he could have used that issue.
This whole stupid theatrical debate over we need to be energy independent. We have been energy independent for 50 freaking years. We just have refused to use our own resources to provide electricity and power.
Don't yell at me.
Well, my thought on it has always been that, we stockpile these reserves. We don't tap into it. So we let everybody else use up theirs, and then we're the only ones that have it.
There might be a thought to that, by the way. There might be a thought to that. There might be a thought to that. I don't know for sure if that's a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but not too much, though.
It's kind of going down the conspiracy theory route, but it's a much more understandable conspiracy than a lot of things.
Oh yeah, no.
Because it's the exact way that people operate in business. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let them waste their time going down a dead end so I can be more successful. That's
especially if you're going to sell it. If you're going to save onto it and then sell it when it's a lot more expensive, then it's very cheap now. Now we talked about the oil thing before, but cheap oil. This is a strategy being used to harm other countries, though.
Listen, there's a few reasons why Obama isn't touting this as some great success. Number one, his own party would be like, well, we shouldn't be, drilling for more oil. That's bad. But the other reason is that he's not doing this to lower the cost for the American people. He's doing this to retaliate against other countries.
Well, and I think it's more OPEC than him. I mean, I don't think Obama's like, we're driving the price down so we can...
What was it?
Because that hurts his stuff, too.
Oh, yeah. But at the end of the day, it's our regular allowing more permits to drill oil that's even allowing for this to happen.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And to your point, if his base knew that they were allowing more permits to drill, they'd be freaking out. They would want no drilling.
That's why he's got to oppose the Keystone Pipeline.
Right.
That right there is the reason why he has to oppose it. Now, there's
a lot of good reasons to oppose it.
Well, now there's people in his own party though, like Labor, that actually would want the Keystone Pipeline.
Well, the unions do.
The unions want it.
Yeah.
But now this is where the unions and the environmentalists don't have the same, goals in mind sometimes, and they have a little spats. Spats, by the way. I feel it's a very juvenile word, and when it comes to talking about different Democrat groups, I like to use the word spats. Like this, I think it makes me feel better. It's almost like I'm calling them names without calling them names.
If you want to get really juvenile, you could be like slap fights.
Spats.
Hissy fit?
Okay, I think hissy fit is definitely better than spats. I don't know. Slap fights is pretty good though. Huh.
There you go.
All right, I'll have to.
You have to play around with those. See which ones you like. He's gonna write them down.
This is the first time.
His fit spat fight.
He used them all. All right, spat.
Just chronicling them there. This way you can kind of pick from the list later on.
Well, I'm going to take a look at these things. I'm going to kind of mull them over, and then I'm going to put them in order. So, all right, I got to. We'll have to go from there. I don't know which one I'm going to use. One of them I'm going to start picking up now in the vernaculars, but I don't know which one yet, though. At any rate, I never understood. I mean, you have some vitriol about the immigration issue. I mean, on both sides, some vitriol about this issue. And I really wish people would go back and look at history.
Why would they do that?
Go back and look at the history of this country.
Next, you're going to ask him to learn calculus.
But, I mean, really, though, a lot of people in this country that if we went to a immigration policy back then that we have right now, you wouldn't be here. They wouldn't have let you in. You wouldn't have got in. There'd have been a quota. You wouldn't have made the quota.
That's what I always find the funniest.
The Irish wouldn't be here in the numbers that there are. The Italians wouldn't be here in the numbers that they are. They wouldn't be. Hell, the Native Americans would have said, look, man, you guys aren't the right quota for us.
Yeah, if we had a stronger immigration policy in the 1490s, then this would be a much different place.
But even if you went back, the immigration policies that you hear people wanting now, or, you basically close everyone off. If they had done that even 50 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here. Most of us wouldn't be sitting here. I mean, Greg would be, but he's about the only one.
Yeah.
My family came over here in the 40s,
Yeah, mine came over here in the late 1800s.
So, when I hear these, it's just, and also, when you get the sides where they're like, well, your ancestors did this. My ancestors were in another country.
Yeah.
We came over in the 40s. Get over it.
They were over there riding Vespas.
Vespas.
Isn't that what you do? You ride Vespas over there?
Over in Italy, yeah.
Making pizza.
Well, my family's still making pizza. They're just doing it here.
Yeah, they just switched over to pizza. Yeah, exactly.
For 30 years, they're making pizza. It's right here in Port Richey.
There you go. And most people like Mexican food, so we're good. It's just another grouping of people coming over. And that's always going to be the way, it's always to be the way it should be. It's what makes this country great.
And everybody hates the new group coming in.
Everybody hates the new group coming in.
When the Irish came, they were hated. When the Italians came, they were hated. They were like substandard citizens. Whatever new group is immigrating here, they are demonized as the worst people on earth. Why would we let these people in? And then all of a sudden they become they do great things, and we're like, well, Let's just hate the next group.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, they hate that group till the next group comes, and then they hate that group.
What always really shocked me was like the anti-Chinese propaganda back when it was the Chinese coming over. Man, talk about evil. I mean, we had some really bad people in this country who were very vocal and had control of the media. I mean, it is
Chinese
horrible.
people are bad, man. What are you talking about? I mean, that.
I'm
wrong
sorry.
with you?
I love Chinese food.
I don't really care for Chinese food all that much, and I still think it's crazy. And there's some Chinese food I like. I like egg rolls.
Love Chinese food.
So you forgive him for the egg rolls?
Anytime someone says, "What do you want to eat?" I don't answer because my answer is always Chinese food. Always.
Yeah, my wife's the same way.
I'm not a Chinese food person.
No, you're not.
Stuff in there.
Yeah,
They
food.
do.
No, I think
Deliciousness.
it's more than that.
MSG.
I think it's more than that. All right, so what's going on with Ben Carson?
So that was the worst segue ever. We're talking about the president. You could segue into someone who's aspiring to be the president.
Speaking about the Republican version of white guilt, go ahead with Ben Carson.
There you go. That's a segue. Ben Carson came out in the media this week and said that the liberal press is making him sound crazy. So he went on this big thing, and he's been everywhere saying this. Like, I'm not crazy. It's the liberal press. And he keeps using that. The liberal press is making me sound crazy. So he's been all over saying these things. And then in the same week, he said ISIS has the right idea because they're at least for what they believe in.
He didn't really say that, did he?
This is
No, come on.
His direct quote. We've got ISIS. They've got the wrong philosophy, but they're willing to die for while we are busy giving away every belief and every value for the sake of political correctness. We have to change that.
So what are you saying, Dr. Carson? That you should for gay marriage? That we should go to war to the death over gay marriage?
Oh my God. Say that?
It's a direct quote.
It's not the liberal media guy, it's your mouth.
Right. I have news for Ben Carson. The press and even the conservative press is not making you sound crazy. You and the words you choose to say are making you sound crazy.
I mean,
The liberal press isn't doing anything to intentionally make you sound crazy. They're just reprinting your quotes.
I guess you could get mad at them for reprinting your quotes, but
The conservative news just isn't reprinting it. They're like, oh my God, this guy's
I can't believe he
representing
said
us.
that.
We're just going to skip this story.
I mean, really, the thing that I don't understand is how this guy got up there anyway, though. Like, how did he become a person that politically people should be listening to?
Well,
he was a doctor.
Well, he made a speech a couple years ago that was very powerful and ideas in it, and the things that he was saying, a lot of people got on board with, myself included. I remember it and I liked it. I was like, wow, this guy's pretty smart and he seems to know what he's talking about. But as time goes on and you dig a little deeper and you let him say some more things, it's like, I don't know about this guy. He's just as nuts as the rest of them.
He was a big opponent of Obamacare, so he spoke for any. So he could kind of speak for how it was going to affect people in his profession. And so he was very eloquent in his speaking on that topic. So everyone was like, yeah, this guy's got the right idea. Like, he speaks so well. The problem is once you get him outside of his little comfort zone, which is being a doctor and Obamacare and how that affects doctors, the guy is two ways to crazy all day long. Nothing that comes out of his mouth makes any lick of sense. But people go back to that Obamacare thing and go, oh, but he's so smart.
Isn't this guy the gun grabber?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's a big
The
gun
Republican gun grabber.
Yeah.
He basically equated at one point homosexuality to pedophilia and bestiality. I mean, the guy is like...
But he says he didn't say that, though.
Well, he did say... But, he did say because he said things like, well, if we allow gay marriage to happen, then we need to allow, people to marry children and people to marry animals.
Oh, that is equating gay marriage to bestiality and
So when he's...
pedophilia,
when
that is exactly what it means.
So when he's saying, well, I didn't really compare homosexuality to it, I just said that if you're going to legalize one, you have to legalize the others.
No, you don't, because
Right.
the dog cannot consensually sign the marriage contract.
And either can a child.
And quite frankly, if you teach your dog to read and write and consensually sign a marriage contract, you have put more effort into your relationship with your dog than most people put in with their spouse, and you deserve to be married.
Did Greg just make and advocate the point for bestiality?
And actually saying that it would be a more productive marriage.
Yes,
Did Greg just do that?
I
Did you
totally
hear that?
did.
Hey Danielle, don't let Greg hear this. Did he just say that?
He did, actually.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
The funny...
Okay, we'll go back to being on the mic now.
Now, he's also saying this week that he never compared the U.S. to Nazi Germany, but back in August, he actually said, I'm not sorry about comparing the U.S. to Nazi Germany.
But he didn't say it. But he's not sorry.
But now
for
he's
saying
saying he didn't say it. But what he said, and I'm going
Cat needs to make up his mind.
it says, people look at what I said, and we're not political about it. They'd have to agree. Most people in Germany didn't agree with what Hitler was doing. Exactly the same thing can happen in this country if we're not willing to stand up for what we believe in.
Again, he's making the comparison. You're the one making the comparison there, Doc.
In an interview with Breitbart, he said, I mean, our society is very much like Nazi Germany.
Well, I'm actually reading his quote here that got him in all this trouble. And the first part of it is what shows me where our problem is. He says, a bunch of ragtag militiamen defeated the most powerful and professional military force on the planet. Why? Because they believed in what they were doing. For what they believed in. Well, that's not why the American Revolution was successful. Believing in what you're doing has zero to do with your success.
Right.
The American Revolution was successful because the British Empire was fighting a war on multiple fronts. They were also fighting with France at the same time. France was sending resources over to us and helping us. They were fighting two wars, and they did not treat us the same way that they treated the French. They treated us like a bunch of petulant children. We were children that were out of line that needed to be straightened out, whereas they were slaughtering the Irish as savages and fighting with the French at the same time.
Right.
They were so spread out, they eventually gave up. That's why we won. They could have crushed us if they wanted to, but they were treating us like petulant children, not like a war. Mm-hmm. And so we did not get the battle that the Irish were getting, that the French were getting. We were able to succeed by eventually making realize it's not worth it. We can end this war and just reestablish commerce. Right. That's how we won, by being such a pain they gave up.
Right. But, and here's the thing. At the end of the day, he had a book in 2012, which he has had to come back out and apologize because a large part of the book was plagiarized. He says, and this is what he says about it. It was a historical book, and it had a lot of quotations. We happened to miss a couple. I take responsibility for that. Now, if you miss one or two, people are going to come down on you, but they're not going to call your book plagiarized. They're going to say you missed a quote or two.
Yeah.
I think we actually talked about this when it happened.
Yeah. Like 80% of the book was plagiarized.
I had to get it out. My publisher had a deadline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Copy and paste was faster.
They already wanted me the money after I gave that good speech.
That one.
Yep, that's what they did.
So I just like to tell Ben Carson that it is not the liberal press that is making him sound crazy. He is just crazy.
It's not the liberal press. It's your mouth.
Well, look, I'm not even going to say that the man is necessarily crazy or not. What I'm going to say is he can't articulate a message other than Obamacare. Yeah. And then anytime you try to do that, what you're doing is you're going with crutches. Is that you're Ben Carson speaker, and here's why. Because it's easy to use the Nazi Germany thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody uses that. Here, used all the time. The ISIS thing, what you are unable to do is articulate the actual message that you're trying to go for. And the reason is because your real message is just as status as Obama. Is just as status as the rest of them. Look, you may have a differing opinion when it comes to like Obamacare being bad. I mean, that's easy. Everybody can tell you why Obamacare is bad. You're not a politician. You're not a person that has aggressively looked at public policy in the way that you should. And your core philosophy is that of the state should be doing a whole lot of stuff and that freedom should be very limited. So, I mean, the problem with Ben Carson is Ben Carson. Go back to being a neurosurgeon, all right? Just go back to doing that, all right? Get out of the realm of public policy, though. You need to get out of that quickly.
Yeah, you're much better at being a surgeon on the brain, not as much using your own.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure you're a phenomenal surgeon. I'm sure you do a great job with that. Stick with that, you gun grabber, all right? Because that's what you are. I don't want you to be the dog catcher of it.
You're certainly not covering history with surgical precision.
Whoa. That was a good one. I like that. I like that, though.
But now Alex he really, really wanted a certain product this year.
It was not a Ben Carson doll.
And it was not a Ben Carson doll.
Or his book.
Or his book.
Yeah.
Well, I just buy somebody else's book.
I was going to say, you could just buy the original. Yeah. So we talked about this before, and Alex was very excited about what was coming out, and that was the Google Glass. And we actually had a little debate on here because I didn't like it. I thought it was invasion of other people's privacy because you could see someone with glasses on, and all of a sudden they could be taking pictures. I really didn't like this thing. And it appears that Alex is never going to get one because they're not ever going to make them before, and they're saying it was a bad idea.
So they're not going to make the Google glasses?
No.
They're not.
They're basically saying Google Glass was its own worst enemy. That they basically paid way too much to develop the product. They had to sell it for way too much, and nobody wanted it. Except for Alex, who never actually bought one and should have when they came out.
I never could find them. If I'd have found a place that was selling them, I'd have bought one.
Well, and people who were using it were very just kind of underwhelmed with the project, with the product. They're basically saying that one person said, "I found that it was not very useful for very much, and it tended to disturb people around me that I have this thing." So he, and this is, from one of the MIT technology reviews, people were basically saying that other people that were around them didn't want to be around them because, like I said, you felt like you could always be on camera or having pictures taken of you, and that the functionality of it, aside from that, was pretty non-existent.
It's like the F-35. We're going to spend $1.5 trillion on something we'll use.
Look, I don't think that this is the end of the story when it comes to that kind of technology. I think that they're going to learn. I think people are going to learn from their mistakes in this one, and you are going to see something else come out. It'll probably be a lot more a lot more hidden, though. Yeah,
cybernetic eye implants, so you won't be able to tell.
Well, no, I think it'll be. I actually think it'll be more along the lines of a what do you call those? Contacts. I think a lot more along the lines of a contacts, and that like your the number of times you blink turns things on and turns things off. And then there's probably going to be like an earpiece that you put in your ear, and that combination of things is what you use, and then probably some kind of something. I don't know what else, but I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of technology that's going to get us here, though.
Basically, Google Glasses were starting to be banned in restaurants, bars. That Google had Google Glass from their own shareholders meetings. The pictures taken with it were generally deemed creepy by anyone who was looking at them. And the Consumer Watchdog's Privacy Project called it one of the most privacy invasive devices ever.
And Alex wanted one.
I totally wanted one.
He did.
He still does.
Hell yeah, I still do. Look, I'll tell you this. I think that the technology that you could use that, like, put it to you this way. If you could, all the information that you've, gotten over, like, people that if you could actually, like, if I looked at you and be like, okay, Greg Bowen, his birthday's this day, so wish him a happy birthday, or something going on, like, something I could say to you, like, that would be a salesman's dream right there.
Great. Let's make salesmen better. Let's make them more invasive.
The problem with Google everyone knew what you were doing, and they just wanted you to be creepy, so people stopped wearing them.
See, that's why I think you have to have it hidden. So that way people
Doesn't
don't know.
make it better.
Oh, it doesn't?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's
No.
okay. That's okay.
It was a
It'll be
bad
back.
idea. It was a bad idea from the beginning.
Couple contacts. Let me in the morning.
Hate that.
Hey, what?
That voice.
What voice?
Yeah, I'm not good.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, so basically the market spoke and said that creepiness was not something worth the money.
I think you will see him come back. Google Glass going to make it back, boy. It's going to make it come back. Big time. Big time. I'm telling you right now. You're going to see it. I'm going to start it right now. We're going to call Alice Glass.
Well, you know who would have wanted a Google Glass had he known that it was available?
Mikey.
Mikey.
My son.
Yep. He is upset. Like, he has... Now, the webcams that he has are, like, broken webcams. Like, when a webcam of ours breaks, we're like, here, Mikey, you can play with it. And he will set those things up everywhere and pretend he's spying on everyone.
Well, one of them was actually working, though, and he plugged it in. It actually was working.
Yeah.
So he'd pull it out of the... He put the computer...
In his bedroom with the door shut.
With the door shut, and then run the wire out there. And then would laugh anytime somebody would walk by.
I can see what's going on outside the room.
I can see a bunch of ankles.
Ankles.
Living the life of Vern Troyer.
And the funniest thing is...
Oh, hold on a second, man. Did you just hear what he just
Yeah,
said?
I did.
Hold on,
I was trying
hold
to
on.
skip over it
Hold
like
on.
I didn't hear it.
Hold on. Don't talk to Greg. Danielle, did you hear that? All right, just making sure. All
No.
right, back talking to Greg.
The funniest thing is we still had one of the baby monitors for a really long time, like up until like last year. But he's not allowed bugs. And so he would actually kind of hide it behind his back and be like, the base, and be like, can you plug this in, Dad? Can you plug this in for me, Dad?
Totally would do that. Would do that. And I'd plug it in, and he'd start laughing. Like
Like he pulled one over on us.
Help me set up my spy station, Dad.
That's what he would say.
And he'd be like, just, can you plug this in for me, Dad? And so Alex would plug it in, and he'd kind of like set it down behind him and then run out of the room and then have the other one.
Yeah.
And, every once in a while, me and Kelly would really mess with him and be like, what should we get Michael? Oh, yeah, let's think of something great to give Mikey. And then be like, nah, let's not do it. And you'd hear him go behind the door, aww.
All right. Take a break. All right, hour number one. The website, 1787network.com. 1787network.com is the website address if you would like to go to our website, and we hope that you will. Hour number two, all kinds of fun. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back to Liberty Underground, 1787network.com. Oh, by the way, if you do want to call the program, the number 1-800-525-4032. Refresh Telecom. 1-800-525-4032. And if you call, that's cool. And if you don't, I don't care either.
So welcoming to our fans.
You know, I'm going to try to adjust this mic. This might help my back. Maybe I can sit up straight instead. Yeah, that might be better. I think I feel better about this whole thing right now. Okay, I'm down with this. All right. Trying to hide myself more, actually, is what I'm trying to do. I don't even know why we put camera. We were supposed to adjust that camera to side view.
Yeah, because that mic is
this
covering
helps.
your face.
Oh, yeah, this helps. Oh, this helps a lot.
Well, your back has been hurting all week.
Oh, yeah. No, it hurt, man. I was down hard, man. Even for that press conference, man, when I went up there. Oh. You know. By the time I was done, I have figured out something else, by the way. For me, press conferences are like a drug.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I a euphoric feeling when I'm done, especially if I do well, if I do okay. Even if I'm only part of it, like I don't even have to be the main person. Just being up there itself is a euphoric drug for me. It was beautiful.
So you're addicted to attention?
Yes. Yeah, basically.
Well, I mean, I did run for office.
You do have the show.
I did have a radio show that I'm on every week. You know, I do another show too on Monday mornings. And I'm willing to get up at 5:30 in the morning to do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess you could say that I might have a little bit of a problem. You know, luckily the ignores most of me time, so I guess they're helping. You know, they're helping they don't enable me.
Yeah.
Hey, here's the thing. If you ever want to get Alex on your side with something, compliment him like crazy and tell him how great he is.
Don't tell everybody the secret.
Well, I'm here.
I can't. You know what? For that, you're gonna keep getting the voice if you keep doing that.
No.
If you keep giving
Here's the thing.
Do you know what I'm saying, Barry?
I'm here to kind of taper that because I won't do it, and I'll be like, "That's crazy. We're not doing that."
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay.
He's like any man. I mean, the real way to our heart is to stroke our ego. That's really it.
Yeah. We're not going down this road anymore. That we're going down. It's already taken a turn that I was about to go down that I don't really think we should be going down. Let's just get into arrests. Go ahead, Danielle. What's going on in Paris?
Well, we talked last week about the attack in Paris at Charlie Hebdo. There are now, Paris police have now arrested 12 more people that they said have been linked to, kind of like strategic support during this attack and things like that. So two people were killed by police in Belgium. They said that there was they've basically been doing raids on like Muslim groups in several countries in Europe now, and they're basically just kind of doing raids to kind of see what's going on with these people. So there was a raid in Belgium. The police were fired upon. They ended up killing 2 people. Like that. So, and now 12 other people in Paris have been arrested. There was another operation at a Paris post office, and they're not saying whether that was terrorist related or not. So there's still a lot of unrest and a lot of going on in Europe, especially, but in France especially, but in all of Europe, kind of the going after these attacks from last week.
That's good. Well, go after those guys. I think another thing that was very interesting with the next edition of the Charlie, say it again?
Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo, right? Mm-hmm. So the other thing that was interested in the Charlie Hebdo thing was the normal rate or the normal print rate for the magazine was 60,000 copies, right?
Yeah.
This one that they just did, they did what, 3, and it's instantly. They had to go print a couple more million.
It's in reprint right now.
Yeah, it's in reprint right now, just to get it, just to go out there and print it out more. So, like, I don't know if the terrorists understand what they're doing here, but what they've done is that they've taken this magazine that was getting 60,000 prints out there, and they've made it now to where this thing's going to have millions out there. Mm-hmm. So even more people are going to see these images of their whatever they want to call it. I don't like that people use the Prophet Muhammad. I just don't even like that. Again, you want to believe what you want to believe, whatever. But when we have our leaders go the Prophet Muhammad, like, screw that. He's not my prophet. I don't know anything about this cat. So from everything I've seen, I don't like him. So there you go.
Well, and
I know we're not supposed to blame the religion for it, but
Well, I don't blame the religion for it.
So.
Wow. Listen,
I blame Greg.
There's a lot of studies that show that, and I was reading some of the statistics yesterday. You are more likely to get killed by a toddler than by a Muslim, by a terrorist, and that most terrorist attacks, only about 10% of U.S. terrorist attacks are from Muslims. 90% are from other groups, and in Europe, less than 2% are actually.
That's your opinion.
No, that's actual science and fact.
No, that's your opinion.
So, terrorists are not Muslims.
No, there's a lot of them.
There's some, but it's not even the majority.
Well, who are these other people you're talking about? Well, we'll get into that story later. So let's get into arresting the terrorists here. So that's what we're talking about.
That doesn't fit with.
That doesn't fit with my narrative right now.
Well, I'm sorry that it doesn't fit, but that's the truth.
You know what? You keep bringing this truth thing up. I don't understand what you're talking about here.
If it don't fit, don't force it.
Yeah. If the glove doesn't fit, you must quit. O.J. Simpson was a Muslim terrorist. I bet you're not counting that one, are you? You're not counting O.J.
I have heard that the most popular vehicle among terrorist organizations is white Broncos.
Yeah. It is. It is, in case you didn't know that. That and old plumbing trucks.
Yeah.
That was classic, by the way. Like you sell your vehicle, you get your stuff on it, right? And the next thing you know, you see a picture of a terrorist with a high capacity rifle in the back shooting things up, and it says Smith Plumbing on the side. Like that's like, don't you feel bad then? Like, who did you sell it to? Like, who are you selling your vehicles to, there, guy? He sold it to a Muslim. See, that's what happens. Sell things to Muslims. There you go.
Listen, I can't. I'm not a collectivist, not in any way. I do go back. I look at the facts. At the end of the day, in Europe, and this is just Europe, and we're talking about terrorist attacks in Europe, less than 2% are actually perpetrated by Muslims. Most terrorist attacks in Europe are by separatist groups.
Muslims?
No.
No, they're Muslims.
No, they're not.
No, they are.
Mostly they're probably Irish.
There she goes, blaming the Irish.
So now we're going back to blaming the Irish again.
Well, listen, there's just a big...
You got something wrong with corned beef and cabbage?
There's actually a large divide between some of the people in Ireland and how they feel about Europe.
Honestly, I've seen Europe. Who can blame them?
Well, that's true.
There is the theory that God created whiskey to keep the Irish from conquering the world.
I mean, it's good. Whiskey is good, though.
Most terrorist attacks in France are actually people from the nation of Corsica because France...
Also known as Muslims.
No. Owns that territory, but they'd like to be independent. So, a lot of these are groups that felt that their country has been, kind of taken over by one of these European countries, and those are the ones who are actually perpetrating terrorist attacks. Even in, I lost it now, and we don't talk about the Norway. In Norway we saw that man had basically slaughtered 77 people in a school, and he was actually he was a Christian radicalist who basically felt that that the schools weren't setting the right agenda, and that's why he went and shot up the school. Now, all of these people, no matter what, terrorists are mentally ill. You know what group they all fall in, regardless of the statistics? Mentally ill.
The psychotics.
Mentally ill Muslims. So we're going with this. Let's ask Brandon, actually. So Brandon with the Global Dispatch is a person that is well known to know about all things in a lot of different areas. So let's just see. We'll get Brandon's take on some of this stuff. Hey, Brandon, how are you doing, by the way?
Hey, good morning. How's everyone?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good.
Doing good.
Now, on the front of the Global Dispatch this week is the ISIS attack on Twitter and YouTube.
I saw this week.
Can you give us a little information on this one, Brandon?
It's great timing, right? In the wake of the Paris attacks, we have a hacker that gets in and goes in through and hacks their YouTube account, their Twitter accounts, puts up a big ISIS message, a lot more threats, and definitely great timing on their behalf. And I think it may be a little bit time for us to stop thinking of them as a bunch of cave-dwelling Neanderthals, which I think some people still think of terrorists, at least they're not organized, they're not tech savvy, they're not a little bit different than when you can hack into CENTCOM.
Well, here, I got a question for you about this though. Didn't they really hack YouTube and Facebook and Twitter?
Twitter.
Hack CENTCOM. They hacked YouTube and Twitter and Facebook.
Well, right. I mean, but you would think that CENTCOM would actually have a pretty well locked down account that it wouldn't be so easy to hack into.
Yeah, well,
I don't know if they have any more.
But how can they have more capability than anybody would on Twitter? Though?
I think they just
I
failed
don't know.
to set up.
When I read the story, I just thought of the Mel Brooks scene where the CENTCOM password 1 2 3 4 5 6.
It's amazing. I have the same combination on my luggage.
No, it probably wasn't that far off.
It was probably password all lowercase.
Yeah, your point's well taken, but obviously, the point of the story is obviously, this is not a group that shying away from who we are. They're not scared of America. They have options to try to send messages directly to CENTCOM and American soldiers.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely, absolutely. Now, also on the Global Dispatch website, you do have the information about John Boehner targeting the GOP, his opponents, after being able to keep the job as Speaker, but now that he won, and we have some that was definitely targeted after this by Richard Nugent. And I'm going to go ahead with some of this, Brandon. What was your take on the response from Boehner on this?
The irony is he's really not as heavy-handed as the others have been. He has done more in the past, and people have to know. I think we talked about the Boehner vote last week a little bit. It really wasn't a surprise the way it all kind of played out, but it was interesting to see definite divide in people who are really trying to escape away from the John Boehner, Mitch McConnell leadership. Everyone's pointing that Mitch is the one actually calling most of the shots in Congress. And, I think America's looking for something different. But obviously the way the vote went down, which obviously was preceded by the November vote, no one's going to expect a major change from that. But it really just kind of showed a divide between, they can say they're for the people, they can say they want to do certain things for you. When it came right down to it, most of them just fell lock, stock, and in line with the standard vote.
Now, one of the things that Boehner had come out and said was that he doesn't understand these attacks against him for being part of the establishment, that he's the most anti-establishment person that's up there.
I can't believe he said that without crying.
Yeah, without crying. I really do kind of find it funny, but I wonder if that is his mentality, that he thinks that he's not part of the establishment, with his job up there. I mean, do you think he actually believed that when he was saying it?
I really do think they do. I really don't think that they realize that America is sliding more. And I hate using the Tea Party as an example, but I'm not sure what adjective to use here, because there's people that are just looking for a lot of slash and burn politics. And, whenever you have a number for the speaker, in December, you pass a $1 trillion bill. You're continuing to ignore the fact that the president passes an executive order on immigration, just thumbing his nose at you, these kinds of things. You're not showing any sense of leadership, and you're not showing anything. When you speak so badly of the opponents, and Mitch McConnell is actually much worse, and I hate grouping them together, but I think people need to see that partnership. There's been very direct attacks towards Freedom Works supporters, those kinds of people that are just like-minded. And I'm not necessarily agreeing with everything Freedom Works does, but it's important to understand that there is a delusion that's going on in their office. And, we should expect it. I mean, you go to their office, it's like, the ivory tower. They look down on the masses from their great office up high. And, we know how Nancy Pelosi behaved when she was speaker and how she was about her office and those kinds of things. So it goes to their heads very quickly. I don't believe that there's any chance of, really changing that. And I don't think the delusion really is going to go away.
Now, there's something else here that to get your take on in this situation as well. That for some reason that John Boehner was attacked for not being able to keep all these people in line when it came to getting the votes going. That the token opposition that was actually going on to John Boehner, which that's really all it was at the end of the day. I mean, you only had 25 something representatives that actually voted somewhere else.
No one against.
Yeah, in November nobody even ran against the guy. How is this that there is some kind of dysfunction going on up there? It's almost like if there's any opposition to the leadership of a party by the other members of that party, if there's anything of I think we should have somebody else, that somehow that shows dysfunction. I would think that should show how it should be. There should be multiple people running for the seat. Debate. There should be, one person does end up winning, and then that's what they go with. But it seems to me that if it's not unanimous, then somehow it's a bad thing. And maybe we've always been at this point, but I didn't understand how that was such a problem.
Well, I think that, again, we have to go back to the source of where some of this is coming from. But I know from the liberal side of things, they will want to point to any dysfunction in the Republican Party that they can. They want to make sure that they present as much of a polarized party they want to make sure that they will report on every little thing that Ted Cruz does that creates an irate John Boehner and vice versa. They want to create these divisions. They don't want to have a uniform process that would make sense to us. They don't want to have free speech and free minds and have 12 people run for speakers and have runoffs and those kinds of things. They don't want that. They want to try to paint it as chaos. We're not going to hear the same kind of reporting if we had 15 people that voted against Nancy Pelosi's House vote. It wouldn't have made those kind of headlines. They would have just made notes of it. She would have punished them accordingly, and we move on because the Democrats are also like-minded. And reality is we see them all fall lock and stop and barrel in line when it comes times to, the $1.1 trillion votes and some of the other stuff that comes. They all kind of fall in step, and that's where we see the difference between Republicans and Democrats. But that's not how the media wants to paint the party. They want to make sure they paint it at the right lens for the American people headed 2015.
Okay. I did have a little bit of a different take on that.
They're going to treat you as a kook, Alex. If you were in Congress and you had voted and you wanted to run for House and you had stood up and you'd just be a kook, and they would have just dismissed you as such, and it wouldn't have mattered if you had gotten enough to have a runoff vote and Boehner still won a runoff vote. You would be treated as the kooks, and anytime you'd speak out, that's kind of how they'd marginalize you. And it's not to even take, I think, evaluation of your point, what the right things should be done. Webster and Nugent, may have had legitimate arguments that they wanted to make. Did any of those make the print? Because I don't think I saw any. And that was, that's kind of the point here with the press. They're not even going to give you a chance to talk to Webster and Nugent. You try to contact them, and you just kind of get run through the secretarial staff trying to get quotes on, why it is that he wants to be speaker instead of Boehner. And the whole system sometimes, and it all goes back to, a two-party system and keeps everything else out.
Yeah. Well, now, one thing that Nugent did.
Yeah, he did put out a statement on why he didn't support
Right.
Boehner. And he basically, I was surprised to see how candid it was. Because he did say that it was things that he had already told John Boehner himself. But he basically said, I don't believe he's a leader. I don't believe he possesses good leadership skills. So I to continue to be the leader.
But to Brandon's point, and I think this is a good point, is that very few people actually put that part of it out.
Right.
And I think that does speak to what Brandon's talking about there. And he's right, they didn't. And Nugent, I think that when it comes to guys like Nugent, for the office that he's in the congressional seat, so the people that matter the most are the people that are going to have to vote for him in the next election cycle. And I think that those people are going to be, I think that he is not going to be challenged in that area. I don't think he will. I don't think that you're going to see, he's not going to get he's going to get knocked off of committees and stuff, but I don't think that you're going to have somebody locally actually challenge him for his position. And I think that it's better cemented with what he did in that vote than it would have been had he not made that vote. Had he not made that vote, I think you would see somebody possibly going against him. This actually, and some of the other votes he's made, has shown himself to be a much more, independent person up there than I would have ever thought he would have been.
Yeah, and he actually just like a week before the John Boehner vote, he basically said, I understand that we're trying to cut the budget, but they cut military pay when they could have cut from so many other places, and he was outraged over that. So I think that, and he said, I understand cutting the budget. I'm a fiscal conservative, but we're cutting it in the wrong places. We're punishing good people.
And I think to a regular Republican, I want to go back and use this example because I know this came up where I had a very interesting verbal discussion with a diehard Republican party liner, and he was outraged over how the Ted Cruz movement was during the government shutdown, and it was they should just fall in line. It's going to look whatever. They don't think about the allegiance to the constituents first. They think about the party first.
Yeah, no, and that's it's one of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to the electorate.
Yeah,
is that I think the electors will even put themselves second fiddle to the party on some of these things, especially some of the much more party faithful, which does represent a minority of the population. However, it represents a big amount of people block when it comes to the primaries, though.
Yeah. That
part is huge, and that's why a lot of these guys, these incumbents, end up winning primaries, is because those the diehards fall in line, on both sides of the equation, not just one side, but both sides fall in line. I mean, how many times have you seen good quality grassroots candidates come up that don't get anywhere in a primary? And it's not because that other person was good. It's just because, they've been there for a long time, and we just keep those people up there.
The party, especially here in Florida, has made it very clear that the Republican Party of Florida finds defending incumbents to be imperative to their party. Whether the incumbent is good or bad is, inconsequential, that they protect incumbents.
I think we see that across the country, actually.
I mean, I can't say for other parties in other states because I don't hear what those people are saying. Definitely,
maybe not from a Republican standpoint, but you'll see that in different states where you see that the state party will be very protective. Look, Charlie Rangel was nearly arrested, and they ran him again and rallied the troops around him to make sure 86% of the vote. They stacked the cards accordingly.
Yeah.
I mean, Marion Barry was a crackhead. Yeah. A crackhead, not a pejorative term. What he was doing when he wasn't, the mayor. Cracking headed. He was out there smoking crack.
Well, so was Rob Ford.
Well, Rob Ford, like him. Well, that's Canada. Though. Look, Canada, we can't even talk about Canada in that aspect. It's not even real politics in Canada.
They still recognize the Queen.
Yeah, they still, exactly. So, something else that's on your site, Brandon, and I happen to watch this already, and I think it's a very interesting movie. I happen to have gotten a link from a friend of mine that had the entire movie, The American Sniper, on the link. And so on YouTube, I was actually able to watch the entire movie. I don't know if it was YouTube or whatever it was on, but some kind of video thing from beginning to end. Now, have you seen this movie yet?
No, I actually don't see it yet. Next week, I believe.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Yeah, it actually opens today. We did get a great chance for an interview opportunity with that. I've only seen large chunks of it, but not in its entirety.
Yeah, Brandon's not going to steal it like you did.
Oh, yeah. Somebody sent me a link, man, and I watched it. And I was like, oh man, I really wanted to watch the movie. We're going to wait till next week though, because I want to wait till Brandon sees it, and then we'll talk about it. Until then, we'll hold off.
Yeah, I actually really wanted to see the movie too, but only one person in this room has seen it.
It was really late at night. The link came in late. I was like, well, I want to watch it now, and so I wanted to watch it.
In the morning, he was like, I want to sleep in. I was up late watching the movie, and he tells me what movie, and I'm like, oh. And he's like, why? I'm like, well, I wanted to see that. So I come out, and I'm telling Kelly, oh, well, Alex is going to sleep in. He watched the movie, and I said The American Sniper, and she goes, didn't you want to see that? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, what a jerk. So it was a consensus in the house that was the wrong move.
Well, that was your opinion, and I have to say it anyway, so whatever. It's just the way it is. We talked about this earlier in the show, but I do want to bring this up to Brandon, and I want to get his take on it. I know that in the U.S. News section of the Global Dispatch, you do have the Ben Carson the Ben Carson thing. Have you followed Ben Carson at all? And what is your take on this guy?
Wow. I think there's something to be said for learning how to be politically savvy and learning how to handle speeches and whatever. And sadly, in the 21st century, it is exceedingly difficult to continue to speak publicly and not just fall over your own feet if it's not something that's truly just in your heart and you believe. And when you start to going outside your comfort zone, which he's obviously doing now, as he appears to be like he's trying to prime himself for a 2016 presidential run. When he starts speaking on foreign policy, sort of outside his healthcare comfort zone, he tends to sort of stumble over himself. I do understand sometimes what I think he's trying to say, coming from a very like-minded Christian background. We share a lot of evangelical beliefs, but the way he says things just sounds so awful. And then now he's backpedaling, trying to blame everybody else for some of his misquotes and misstatements. It really is kind of sad. But I don't know. Obviously, I didn't read his book. I have no desire. I've heard all the stories about what happened with his book. And like I said, I've been critical of you, the Nazi thing so much. I don't think it's a comparative that is remotely fair and just. And comparing liberals, as much as we may disagree and dislike them, comparing them to Nazis is not something I think you should do. It's not going to go well. And comparing ISIS terrorists to just about anything is probably not going to go well. And someone around Ben probably should have told him these things. But again, it shows inexperience and those kind of lack to know what you're capable of, what you're not capable of.
That's some very good points, Brandon. I think that one thing would be funny is, as much as we give a lot of the other politicians, crap for the way that they do that. Could you imagine what would happen if Ben Carson was on a GOP debate stage with like Mitt Romney and Rand Paul, Ted Cruz with people, like they would chew him up and spit him out though.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think the difference with Carson is he's very smart, and he's probably trainable. The others are just a bunch of show monkeys, in my opinion. I mean, I like a couple of them a little better than some of the others. But when you start talking about, Jeb Bush and Chris Christie and Mitt Romney, for instance, the big three that everybody's talking about right now, they're all just the same political show monkeys. They're all going to say the same kind of stuff. They all got these same kind of things. And at least Ben's angle is different. And what I is with the right kind of coaching, he can come across different enough without getting chewed up and appeal to the American right. Right or wrong, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I can see how it could happen.
Okay. I'm looking forward to see that. Go ahead.
See, I don't think it would be as bad because it's like Rodney Dangerfield said in back in school. You want to look thin, hang out with fat people. You put Ben Carson up on stage with all the other Republicans, his idiocy is going to be lost in the cacophony of other idiocy, and he's not going to look so bad. It's because he's standing out on his own that he looks so bad.
Cacophony. I love that word.
Yeah.
That's a great word, by the way.
No,
What a great word.
I think it would be I think that having someone like Ben Carson up there would make it a much more interesting debate, because I think you're going to hear, especially when you get, Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, you're not going to hear much. Like, that's not a debate. That's more of a, who has better hair, because they're all going to say the same thing.
We'll see. Like I said, it's for that reason alone, I'd like to see him go a little bit further just to get involved in the presidential debates. But I really do think that what's going to happen is that he's in one debate, and then after that debate, he's out of he withdraws his nomination. And
I actually think that could be what
happens. He goes away in 2 days after one of those debates. I don't think he's.
Well, and I also think it depends on who gets in beyond those. You're all still jockeying. I'm not sure there's room for all three. You pointed that out. The like-mindedness. You can't have three. I think they get away with two many times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that Romney and Bush may both get in. I think there's too much money that changes hands from their donors, and that both sides are calling each other's donors, and they're all playing that game. So I likely believe it'll more likely be Chris Christie and one of the other two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to do. And I think it's going to be Jeb.
More likely it's going to be the Common Core guy. He's going to be able to do this. And I think that his eventual defeat will be because of things like Common Core, though.
Oh, yeah. People are so upset with it.
Everybody's upset about this, though. Left, right, up, down, doesn't matter. I mean, everybody's... I don't understand.
Just on Common Core, by the way, the interesting part about this developing with Common Core that I didn't really anticipate was how much outrage there is, even in private schools and things like that. The online virtual program, which is used here in Florida, they all adopted Common Core. Well, on the surface, you would think that your kid might be able to escape that, and they take online classes, they're homeschooled, or they go to this kind of Christian school or this kind of private school. That's not the case, and that's really bubbling to the surface now, and that does not bode well for Jeb.
No, not at all. No, and the thing is this. I've seen my son's homework. I've seen what it looks like. I've seen the way that they're teaching math. I see that they're not even teaching. Look, I think that somehow the basics of what do you kept calling that? Rote
memory skills.
The rote memory skills on the basic part of math. I can't believe that they're not teaching that, because I think that it teaches other things. I do think that there's some critical thinking if you look at the just the math table. 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4. You know what I mean? If you go down the line on all of that stuff, I think that there's some other things that are taught in there, and to not teach them that, I really think that you're doing the kids a big disservice, and also the parents can't even help them with their homework.
Well,
isn't that probably more of the design?
And
probably. No. That's a good point, Brandon.
You have teachers telling parents, don't try to help them because you don't understand how to do it, and you're going to actually make things worse. Now, and I've said this, I'm someone who does math that way. And I didn't do it the traditional way. It just didn't make sense to me. So I kind of could look at the numbers, see the relationship between the numbers, and I do it the Common Core way. Although for someone who naturally figured out the way to do that, how they're teaching it, to me, seems completely wrong. So there's times where I've sat down with Mikey and been like, no, let's look at it this way. And he's much better. But I come from a place where I understand how to do math that way because I figured it out on my own, the relationship between the numbers and how it makes more sense that way. But you have just teachers that don't do math that way, are trying to teach this. They don't possess themselves, to students who don't possess it, to parents that don't possess it, and then try to make sense of it for a kid who's in first grade, and they're like, nobody knows what to do here.
Yeah.
So in addition to making a ton of cash off selling new softwares, new textbooks, and all that, there's a win-win here where they can continue to make parents look stupid, create more of a separation between children and parents, and a dummy generation now that goes forward that, in addition to the math skills that you're discussing, remember, we also don't teach them cursive writing anymore. So good luck for them being able to read, our founders' documents, which are in cursive handwriting, when they can't even do that.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you that was developed by the Muslims as a terrorist tool, and that we're all going to be. Look, if we keep Common Core, then the terrorists win. So we have to get rid of Common Core in order for the terrorists to lose, right? What we're doing, right? Oh, sorry, wrong show. Anything else, Brandon? Before we let you go, brother?
I don't know. I mean, there's tons of stuff in there. Feel free to wander around and enjoy yourself. Search stuff in. Obviously, Boko Haram is still running rampant in Nigeria. On a lighter note, the new Avengers trailer came out this week. So, we got a whole gambit and plethora of stuff. Cacophony of stuff to
His name is Brandon. The website is theglobaldispatch.com. Brandon, thank you so much. Next week.
You guys take care. Talk hard.
Talk hard. All right, let's break. Having Brandon on, that was a good time. We'll get to the rest of the stuff that we're supposed to get to in this hour. We'll talk about the Paris Unity Rally. I know Danielle was a big fan of Paris and Unity and rallies. All three of those things Danielle likes, so being able to put it together is like super special for her.
I actually hated Paris, by the way.
It's almost like when I do my voices, Danielle secretly loves them. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
Hi, this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 1787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersections. Cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when light on under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
Welcome back. Liberty Underground, 1787network.com is the website address. 1787network.com. It's always my little salute to Markowski on that whenever I do that. You don't know. Chris Markowski is his name. He used to be on 820. And he's still on 820 sometimes, and he's some other shows. He does Watchdog on Wall Street. And he does his website is Watchdog on Wall Street. WatchDogOnWallStreet.com. When I was running for office, he was my most favorite interview. I had one of the best interviews that I had during my campaign to Markowski, because he's a pretty guy when he's on the air. I think he does great radio, and it was just such a good back and forth. And I started listening to his show sometimes. And if I'm ever driving around in a vehicle that has a radio that works, which isn't all the time. And his show will be on sometimes, and I'll just sit there and listen to it, because I think he just does an excellent show, and it's a mix of a financial show, but it also has a lot of politics in it as well. And I think he does a phenomenal show. I'm surprised he's not it always surprises me who gets the better ratings, who they put on and who they don't put on. Considering that, I think that this guy does a great show, so I would think that they would want him on more. But then they put other people on that I don't really think that are good. But yet these people have primetime spots that are, jerky. Not to mention that we're having the... What's that? What's so funny about that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh. It's just the way I explain it. Sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't.
It's just the irony of you calling people jerky.
Oh.
Yeah, that is kind of funny.
Okay, I'll go with that. I think we should mention this as well. I think this is a funny thing to mention, though, but it is funny that in Tampa now there is the new morning show radio wars that are going on now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Between Bubba
Mike Calta.
Mike Calta, or Cowhead, or Mike Calta, whatever you want to call him. I think it is classic, though, about both of these guys, how they're both, like Bubba's like, I got good ratings, and he doesn't, and Calta's like, I got good ratings, and he doesn't, and they took him off the air because of that, and the back and forth. I honestly think that there is a possible chance, and I don't think it's a big chance. I'm talking out of the realm of possibilities of what's going on here. There's a 5% chance that this entire thing will work.
That's possible.
That they both actually like each other. They're both actually friends. But they just said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have we're going to have an AM radio war for all of this stuff, and just...
I don't know. Bubba actually sued Calta, so I don't know how many times you can sue someone and them just be your friend.
That's why I'm saying I only put it as a 5% chance. Only a 5% chance.
I don't know. They're both has a very Monday Night War feel to it.
It does. Each other on each other's radio stations at the same time. Like that one looked. That's a little. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I heard, because I listened to when Bubba called into Calta's show, I listened to it.
Yeah, I saw that too.
And Calta was, kind of mean.
Yeah.
But at the same time, and Bubba was, he was giving it like he got it too. But I think Calta got the bigger end of the better end of the deal on that though.
It laugh because of the irony of the two of them calling each other fat. It's like you calling people jerky. As
the Liberty Underground show takes no official position in the war between Cowhead and Bubba, I will say if we had to pick a side, though, we'd pick Calta.
I actually would.
Because you know what, Bubba liked Charlie Crist. I can't really say I can't really say you have any more redeeming qualities after that.
No, listen.
You did let me on though, so I get a 10-minute interview.
I actually, we've been in Bubba's studio.
Yeah.
And we've been on, like, when he had Radio IO, we were on it, many times. So I don't have anything against Bubba at all. I mean, he's let us on and things like that. But I like Calta, actually. I mean, as far as morning shows go, or just radio shows, I tend to like Calta a little better as far as entertainment.
Yeah.
Calta has a better quality show. Criticisms that Cowhead put on him as far as reusing the same old shtick and just the same pair over and over and just the same stuff for years on end, it's pretty accurate. I mean, there's not a lot of originality coming from the Love Sponge show anymore, and Calta's is better in that regard, in my opinion.
I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a show that is very, very tiny, talking about two major shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't win a contest to get a show on the bone when it was Cowhead and
it was Calta and Drew
Garabo, and then when we were there, they, and again, I thought we did pretty well, but we couldn't win. We couldn't win jack. So I
but
guess
their friend won, so that was a little.
Yeah, because you guys didn't take me with you.
Well, everybody, and you're all separate, so it was each individual.
Going up. We went up separately.
Went up separately.
No, you're right. We went up separately.
So. I mean, that was just the way it was. And listen, at the end of the day, I've spoken to Calta. We have definitely spoken to Bubba and things like that. So, I don't have any ill will against either one of them.
No, I don't. I mean, I'll. Here's the thing, though. After what they did with the IO stuff and what they did with, taking off Ledge. I mean, I can't see us ever doing anything with them anymore. But you
never know what comes down the road.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, whatever. One of those. We do a different show than they do. Ours is way political, wonky in that aspect, and it's not the same deal. That and we do the show out. Our studios are definitely different.
Yeah.
We definitely don't have the same caliber studios that those guys have, but we made our own furniture.
Very nice. Like their green room than our studio.
By far. Probably still.
Yeah, like the room that you sit in to be a guest on the show was better than our actual studio.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, look, and Brent was part of that show. We like Brent. Brent was, was a good guy. Brent was a libertarian, so I mean, he did what he could. But I think anything with radio that, and I love the medium. Like, I love the radio medium itself. I think it's one of the best mediums that we have that's out there. I think it's much better to listen to radio shows. I think you get a much better content there than like with TV or anything like that. I think radio's where it's at. However, that medium in and of itself is not the same as it was, and I think it's going to change even more than that. And you're going to see, while things get wider, where you have a lot more selections as a podcast and things like that, when it comes to what you're hearing on the radio, though, that is on the regular stations, though, that's getting almost more vanilla, not less vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, you almost see like more of the political correctness, more of the, you don't see as much of the shock value that you would used to see in radio. And I think that's what made it entertaining. So I think you're seeing a lot of people kind of leave that medium and go to other things because they like the value of it.
But also at the same time, look, almost everybody's got their own radio show.
Yeah.
You name a celebrity, they probably have some kind of a podcast that they do.
Yeah.
And some of them are really good, though. Like Joe Rogan does a podcast. It's a phenomenal podcast.
His are awesome.
Yeah.
Penn Jillette does that Sunday school one. Uh-huh. That's a great podcast.
Yeah.
It's a funny podcast, and I think that I'm entertained by it. But then again, I've been in NPR updates, so.
I like Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't like that guy. Yeah. I don't like that guy at all. Don't ever bring him up on the show. I'm just kidding.
I have to say,
I don't know him well enough to like him or dislike him.
I do not like NPR, but it is constantly on when we travel.
Well, that's why I think you might have broke the radio in the truck on purpose just so you didn't have to listen to that anymore.
No, I didn't.
What do you think, Greg? You think that she did that?
Oh, I see her totally being capable of that. Now, whether or not she actually
When I drove the truck, it was working. And then she drove it one day, and then when I get in the next day, it's not working anymore. I mean, look, I'm just saying,
now,
there's a chance.
We were in the truck, And he was complaining that the dome light didn't work. So the next time I took the truck, I'm like, well, there's a little button here. I know why it's not working. You hit the button, and that's what turned it off. So I hit the button for him, and I check, and the dome light works. And I'm like, great. He's going to be so excited because he was complaining about this dome light. When he got back in the truck, the dome light worked, but the radio didn't. So I'm sure I blew a fuse.
I don't know what happened, but I'm not happy about it.
He's going to blow a fuse now.
Yes. Well, it's not bad either, though. Like when I'm driving up by myself, I actually just turn the I get to listen to a podcast. At that point, put a headphone on and listen to the podcast. So I think that works out pretty well for me. But all right, let's get to the Unity Rally. Danielle's favorite thing is the Paris Unity Rally. She was talking about going. She was very sad that she couldn't be there.
Never ever go back to Paris. I have no desire to ever go
You love
there.
Paris. Middle name is Paris.
But no desire to be in Paris. But they did a Unity Rally, which basically everyone came out to the streets. The streets were filled of people basically saying that they're not afraid, that they're not going to just kind of, it's kind of the opposite of what America did when we were attacked. Like, we all kind of shut in and said, nobody talk to me, and I don't want to have any contact with the outside world, and let's give the government all this power to spy on us. France is doing the exact opposite, and they're like, yeah, screw you guys. We'll, instead of 60,000 copies, now there's 3 million copies of things you don't like. So, I actually applaud them for that. I don't think that it's going to last, and I have a feeling that they're going to lose a lot of their right to free speech in that country. But the president of our country has actually taken a lot of heat because he did not show up to that.
I'm glad he didn't.
Well, Greg brought up a point, a very funny point to bring up, and maybe to show you the hypocrisy of the world leaders there. So, you had a bunch of people that were there, just regular French citizens, and you're not talking about them. What you're talking about is there was also a bunch of world leaders there that were there to support Charlie Hebdo. Is it Hebdo or Hebdo?
Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo in in supporting their right to free speech. However, all these world leaders are very hypocritical in this support. Would you care to explain that one, Greg?
Well, there's a couple things about this false rally with the world leaders. For one, the pictures that the media are using are very curated. They're taking at the proper angles to make it look like there was a big crowd that these people were involved in. They very much were not.
Right.
They were pretty much alone on the streets with their own entourages. The pictures were taken at the right angles to make them look like they were in a crowd. The crowd was that were with them together in this very staged photo op in the street. But, let's look at some of the leaders that showed up. You've got King Abdullah of Jordan, which last year sentenced a Palestinian journalist to 15 years in prison with hard labor. The Prime Minister of Turkey, which imprisons more journalists than any other country in the world. Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, who journalists in Gaza last year, the foreign minister of Egypt, as well as AJ detained journalist Shah Khan for around 500 days, foreign minister Lavrov of Russia, which last year jailed a journalist for insulting a government servant, foreign minister Lamamra of Algeria, which has detained journalists for 15 months without charge. The list goes on and on. Foreign minister of the United Arab Emirates, incommunicado for a month on suspicion of terrorist links. The Prime Minister of Tunisia, which recently jailed a blogger for 3 years for defaming the army. The Prime Ministers of Georgia and Bulgaria, both of whom have a record of attacking and beating journalists. It just goes on and on. Obama didn't show up. He doesn't look like the hypocrite these guys do because they're doing the same thing to journalists here. They want to silence the journalists when it's convenient and tout freedom of speech. So these guys are all a bunch of hypocrites. They're doing it all for show. They're not really believing in free speech. They're not supporting free speech in their home country. They're supporting curated speech just like this to control people's opinions and not actually accomplish free speech.
Yeah, and when they show this, there is you see them standing with a crowd, all these world leaders and things like that. And the actual crowd of citizens were there, but in a different place. So you can see aerial shots of just people everywhere. when you see those aerial shots, and there was just people everywhere, they were not in the same place that the world leaders were.
Yeah.
Ain't that something?
Yeah, they were kept very separate.
Like, really, ain't that something, though? Doesn't that just, I mean, it really does, like, you like, even when you think they're trying to do something nice, it's still.
And the press is complicit in this because they know that this was all a staged photo op, and they're making it look like, oh, hey, look at all these world leaders out marching with the common man for freedom of speech. No, they're not, and you know that. So you guys are just as bad.
Mm-hmm.
Don't yell at me, Greg. I wanted to be in Paris.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. Danielle didn't want to go.
Pay $8 for a bottle of Coke.
It's French Coke, man. It's got to be some good Coke.
No, it's Coca-Cola. It's from the same Coca-Cola bottling company.
That kind of Coke. Okay.
Do they still put cocaine in it over in
Oh
Europe?
yeah, double shot. It's a good time.
No, but what it is,
took some Coke over there. It was up for 3 days.
what it is $8.
There better be cocaine in it.
You better already be high to buy it for that much. You better already be high at that point.
So no, I have no desire to go there just for financial reasons alone. There's no way I'm going over there because if I'm going to buy a bottle of Coke, I will buy it here for $1.29 and not $8.
It's oil Coke. That's what that is.
If I spend $8 for a Coke, I'll go to Disney.
Exactly.
They got better roads there.
Phenomenal roads. They have their own hospital, their own police department, and fire department that runs way more efficient than any world country.
I can't believe we made it back to Disney. How the hell did we make it back to Disney?
We live in Florida. Everything revolves around Disney.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. The state just circles around Disney World.
I
That's why
would
they put it in the middle of the state.
You know, and Disney World in Florida is actually its own city.
Yeah.
They have their own governor, their own government, and things like that. They're basically annexed from everyone else, and that's why they can be so efficient.
Yes.
I actually want to be a citizen of Disney.
Yes.
I don't want to be a citizen of Disney either. I want to make my own place. How about that? How about we just make our own place instead?
We could. Let's.
You got to have Disney money.
Exactly.
That's a good point. Never mind. That's a good point.
Yeah, and it just happened that in the 70s, the government of Florida was like very laxed on that. And it's like, sure, you have a bunch of money.
Well,
of course we'll take your money.
Nobody lived where they were trying to put the put Disney World.
Nobody lived there. And all of a sudden, Walt Disney was here with a big boatloads of cash saying, make me my own city and you can have all this cash. And they're like, awesome. You're going in a place nobody wants to live anyways.
Yeah. We have that stuff with swamp.
Right? It was.
The GDP of Disney property in the middle of Florida is greater than like 75 nations. There's a reason they can maintain that.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a great place to go to sometimes, though.
It's the happiest place on earth.
It is very happy.
Because if you don't smile, you're fired.
Yes.
It's true.
Look, they're not employees. I love that they don't call them employees; they call them cast members.
Yeah, because it's all an act.
It's all a show.
It's all a show. Everything's a show.
Like they're not like they don't even walk on the streets, and I mean even that when they're walking on the streets, it's a show because actually when you get on and off work, there's underground tunnels that you have to go through. You can't be with the people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that's it. It's look, that's fully committed to making it a show, though. I mean, that's some commitment to Showtime.
Yeah.
You know, not to the channel Showtime. I'm talking about, Showtime is, Showtime. That kind of Showtime.
But you know what? People are willing to pay and go there. They love it.
Yeah.
It's all fake, but they don't care. It's like, this is great.
Well, it's like government now.
The rocks sing. You know it's not real.
Well, rocks don't normally sing.
Not normally.
Not where you're at, huh? Well, you got to have that special Coke.
Apparently you drink more than I do.
Yeah, I got to have that Coke, man. That's what you got to have.
It's that $8 Coke.
Exactly. All right, well, hour number 2 is in the bag. Hour number 3 is coming up. The website, 1787network.com, 1787network.com. When we come back, we'll be live on Tan Talk Studios, and we'll get into some solar initiatives, some can initiatives, tell you what a bad guy Rick Scott is, like you don't already know that by listening to the show. But we'll be back. You're listening to Liberty Underground.
this is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 787 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact. Guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause accidents. Accidents are up on an average of 40% at intersection with cameras. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook Liberty.
You received a ticket in Florida, contact Oropesa Law Offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney Oropesa understands the stress associated with being charged with a traffic ticket. In criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney Oropesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you'll be about any potential defense, constitutional rights violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, have a driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Oropesa Law Offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office County and serving all of the Tampa Bay area. Find out more at tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and DHL International, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road in Sweet Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street, just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location at 35595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save money in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today at 727-376-0030.
This is Liberty Underground with Alex Snicker, Danielle Alexandre, and Greg Bowen on the 1787 Radio Network.
Well, good morning, Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Clearwater. This is Alex, co-host, Liberty Underground, along with me, the Duchess of Doing Stuff, my own personal Wikipedia, Danielle Alexandre. How are you doing, Danielle?
I'm doing good.
Feeling well?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I had 2 ears in my headphones today, so I'm a little I almost feel like off balance.
A little stereo for you today.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Hopefully everybody's hearing it. In studio with us right now, the Prime Minister of the Sinister, Greg Bowen. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
Spectacular.
Feeling good?
From the ankles up.
All right, there you go. From the ankles up. Oh yeah.
Broken toe.
Yeah, because of the science lesson that you gave your son about inertia. Hopefully everybody's having a good week. I think I had a pretty good week. I got my I got a good fix this week in media, which I think is always a good thing to get a good fix in the media. In case you didn't know, which you may not have, or you may have known, there is a initiative that is going to be done here in the state of Florida that will be on the ballot if we get enough signatures, that will allow for competition in energy. The way that it will work is, what they're doing is they're going to be opening up solar energy for you as an individual to be able to put on your roof and to be able to sell, not just back to the electric company, but you can actually sell to the neighboring properties, or you can, if you had an apartment complex, you can sell it back to the tenants of your apartment complex, or anything like that, which I think is a very good thing to do. And there's a coalition of people, and it's a wide coalition. I mean, you have conservative groups, libertarians, liberal groups, business community. You have environmentalists together to support this one initiative. Not that these people would all ever support anything together most of the time, but this time they're actually all getting together and they're all going to be supporting this ballot initiative. And it really does what it does is it strikes a major blow against the monopolies that the electric companies that we have in the state currently have.
Yes.
We went up there. There was a press conference that they had, and so all of the different organizations were actually all in attendance at this Tallahassee. And the one takeaway I think I would take away more than anything else was, I didn't, other than Tori Perfetti, who's the kind of the one that's bringing all this together, which you got to give Tori a lot of credit for being able to bring all these different groups together. The one thing that I saw was, I didn't meet any of these people ahead of time other than Tori.
Right. And
that really along the same line of thinking when it came to this. Like, Danielle, without knowing who the ones that were from the left or from the right or whatever, would you have been able to tell by what they said who was what?
Yes.
Oh, really?
But only because of very small nuances in what they were. Most of them, you had to really know that large group from different places to be able to, who was kind of from the left, who was from the right, and things like that. If you were just listening to the press conference and not knowing the wide spectrum of different organizations in there, you would not have known the difference.
Yeah. And all of those people were on message without ever talking to each other first, though.
Right. And I was unsure of who everybody was, because I knew the coalition. Like, I knew that there was this broad spectrum of the Christian Coalition and the Florida Retail Federation, and like that there was environmentalist groups there. So like, I knew that going in, but I was trying to sort them all out as they were speaking. And I didn't know at first until some of the questions came up and I would see who would go up to answer them.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point there. I thought it was a very well done press conference, so I think we all did very well. However, there is going to be a large establishment opposition to this. One of the questions that was asked while we were there was, well, why are you doing this via ballot initiative instead of, just going through the legislature to get this done, which normally would be the way that you would do this?
Well, they basically were asking why while this ballot initiative is going on, couldn't the legislature ready, and then you guys are kind of up here raising money for this for no reason?
Yeah, and I think good. I think the answers to respond to that was pretty good. I mean, one, if it was possible to do this through the legislature, it would have already been done. That the control that the control that the electric companies currently have over our legislature is the real reason why we couldn't get it done this way. And it's sad because, I mean, we're the Sunshine State. Mm-hmm. If solar, if we're going to get in the way of it here in this, it just goes to cronyism that is going on up in the Capitol. But you had all kinds of groups that were involved. The RLC was involved. All different kinds that were out there. And it was really nice to see. And I don't think that's the end of it. I think you're going to have a lot more groups that are involved in this. And it was nice. I think I enjoyed it very much so. But I will tell you that I can confirm that press conference for me is like a drug.
Oh, yeah.
There is a euphoria I feel afterwards, even if I'm not even the main speaker. So I was very happy with that. And if you want more information on that, actually, if you want to know about it, you can go to lpf.org, lpf.org. Click on the latest. If you go to latest on the tabs and look for latest news, there's the press release that's put out by the Libertarian Party. In addition to that, there is a link for the petition. It's going to require, like I said, over 600,000 petitions in order to get this thing on the ballot. But if we get this thing on the ballot, it's going to pass. I don't think there's any question to that.
I think it will. I think it's not a perfect kind of position. You know, like it's not perfect freedom in this. It is starting to chip away at the monopoly of the electric companies, and it is starting to create some market forces in the field of electricity. I like it. I think it's going to be a good thing. I think it would be a good thing for Florida. So I'm interested to see where this goes. But I think it's going to take a lot to get it on the ballot because you're going to need, hundreds of thousands of petitions. But I think with something like this where all sides are kind of coming together, I think you could see it happen.
Yeah, no, I think that this would probably be one of the easiest petitions to get people to sign. I really don't see any opposition to getting these petitions signed.
Except the electric company.
But you know what though? But the people that are in charge of that one represent a very small minority of people. The vast majority of people, it's going to be quite all right that they sign this.
Yeah.
And if you look at what happened with Amendment 1, which wasn't a good amendment, if you look what happened with Amendment 1, this one will get more support than Amendment 1 did.
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I think you're going to see more opposition to this one as you did with Amendment 1, because I don't think you really saw any major organizations or major money opposing Amendment 1, where I think you're definitely going to see some major money opposing this one. But I still think Florida is in a very environmentally conscious electorate. So I think when you put these environmental projects on there, especially when you're opening the market up to solar in the Sunshine State, I think you're going to see people overwhelmed.
Now, I agree with you. I really do think you're going to see a huge amount of support for this. Again, this fits everybody's dynamic. There's so many times that we'll come on this program and we'll talk about things that are going on, and we're complaining. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that we have a lot of valid complaints going on right now, but there's a lot of times where you don't have everybody getting together with the solution. And in this aspect, and you got credit on this, is that he was able to bring people together to provide a solution to a problem instead of just saying that we shouldn't do this or we shouldn't do this, that it's something that everybody is agreeing upon that we should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think these groups would never have gotten together on their own.
No, it took somebody to put it all together. And they were able to put it together, and I like that.
Yeah.
I think energy convinced Tallahassee to put a dome over the state of Florida to restrict the sunlight coming in, and they can then charge us to open up the panels on the dome to allow the sunlight in.
Greg, I really can't believe that you would say things like that to give these people ideas. Like, do not give them ideas on how to do that. I I can feel that they're already trying to do this now.
Listen to this show and is now proposing legislation.
It's already in bill drafting. We just found out. It's already in bill drafting now.
Thanks a lot, Greg Bowen.
There you go.
They're calling it the Greg Bowen Plan for Economic Commerce.
They're putting your name on it, Greg. They're putting your name on it. I hope you feel good about that.
I'll take it.
Now, that is not the only ballot initiative, though, that has been announced. Round 2 of medical marijuana.
Yes.
Which I don't know if people knew this or not, but John Morgan has this going to go out there and try to get a ballot initiative for medical marijuana on the ballot again in 2016. There's some changes to it to address some of the attacks that they got when and look, I don't know if it passed in 2014. However, considering his outbursts that he had that got videotaped, I don't know if he was trying to sabotage it himself. It's possible because
his new plan better include a ban on all drunken monologues at bars.
Yeah, really should actually.
Honestly, he shouldn't be the face behind it anymore, because I think that, as soon as his name is on it, the media is just his drunken diatribe that makes him look like a complete fool.
Yeah, here's the thing. If I could give the United for Care a tip, don't have an ambulance chaser as your spokesperson.
Yeah.
Just a small tip. Don't have this guy as your spokesperson, because it's not even like he's well liked in the state of Florida.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not even like he's an endearing figure. I mean, the guy is the most glorified chaser in the state.
Yeah, I think that he did enough to tank the 2014 version of Amendment 2 that he should probably not be the spokesperson this time.
Well, there was an article that came out in Sunshine State News that actually said who should be the person.
Yes.
And I don't know if you know this name or not, but Jeff Kottkamp.
I know the name.
He ran for office before. He used to be up before. He's a conservative or whatever, and he's a person of faith, but somebody that that they should pass this the amendment for medical marijuana. So he's going to be a different face. He'll speak to a different electorate than John Morgan did. For sure, he'll speak to a different electorate than John Morgan did. And I don't think that Morgan and them are counting on the youth vote on this one, where before youth vote. But this next time going around, I don't think they're going to count on the youth vote. And honestly, the youth, it's your own fault for this one. I mean, you had an opportunity, you blew it. And it's sad that you blew it. Like, you shouldn't blow it. The problem going on here is we have allowed the youth of this country, if you go between the ages of, is it 18 and 35?
Yeah.
Adult males and females of voting age between 18 and 35 in the state of Florida, if you actually decided to start voting, you would get the people you wanted into office elected. Mm-hmm. You would be able to beat the vote of the 55 and up.
You are actually the largest voting bloc in the country. You are just the least likely to go out and cast a ballot.
Yeah, you are the least likely to go out and cast a ballot, and there's people that have tried. I mean, we watched what happened with Overby's campaign. Mm-hmm. Overby, who's running against David Jolly for Congress, was heavily going after the youth vote. And you guys, for all intents and purposes, said thanks, but no thanks. We're fine with the old people running the show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you said. Whether you said, well, I didn't really say that. Well, no, but your vote and what that represents made it loud and clear. That's what you think. You think that all these people up there are just doing a great job. No reason for you to go out and vote. It's a bad time. You should not be doing this. You should be out there voting. You would, if you had your voices heard in the voting booth, we would be able to fix a lot of the problems that we have right now. But you won't. So, we're going to get what we're going to get. And when somebody like John Morgan says, well, the first time I'm going to try to get the youth vote to get involved in voting, and we make it as easy like marijuana, if you're not going to come out and vote for that, then you're not going to come out and vote for anything. So there's no need to go after you. is a voting block. You are disenfranchising yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not the right way to say it. I know it's probably, well, you should be much nicer to the kids. Maybe they'll come out and vote that way. Well, look, we tried nice. It didn't work. We tried to put something on the ballot that you would like, marijuana. It didn't work. You're going to come out and vote. And so, as much as I've come on this air, and I have the greatest generation is what they call it, the quote-unquote greatest generation, for a lot of the problems that we have right now, because they've been voting the longest.
Right.
They've been around the longest. So when people like Ross Perot came to warn you about the problems, you said, well, no, I'd rather have Clinton. When other candidates would come up for office, when you had like a Harry Brown come out there, when other people have come up for office to try to offer an actual alternative, roundly rejected. When the cronyism is rampant, when the percentage of people that actually like what's going on in Washington is like the lowest it's ever been, we still have re-election rates in the 80 percentile range. 80, 90%. Russia has a better turnover than we do. So, you want to be mad? Go be mad all you want to. You want to do a selfie of being mad? Then make your selfie of being mad. But until you're willing to start, your voice means absolutely nothing. Nothing. Not a damn thing. And the only person you can blame everybody else if you want to. You can blame the politicians if you want to. You can blame the corporations if you want to. You can blame all these different segments. But until you're willing to look into the mirror and place the blame there where it should be, I got nothing for you. It would be nice. It would be very, very nice if you would start voting. Because most of the people that are now newly registered to vote since 2010, 78% of those people have registered MPA. Mm-hmm. Boy, if you guys just started voting. If the MPAs, look, if you were not a Democrat or a Republican, and we could get the turnout of third parties in the MPAs in the 80 to 90% range, I really think this election would lose.
Yeah.
Because, the numbers aren't going to get, on the Republican or the Democrat side, they're not going to get that much higher. Then they'd start listening to you. Until then, they're not going to listen to you. Again, why would a politician worry about what you have to say? Other than they're going to placate you. They're going to go, yeah, we care about the youth. But in reality, though, why are they when you have the special interest giving millions of dollars to them to get them elected into office? They just care about getting them elected into office a lot more than you do. And when there's good people that are out there running for office, what do you do to help them? Nothing. Honestly, maybe we shouldn't go after the youth vote. Maybe we should go after the old people vote. Seems like they come out and turn out to vote. Maybe that's who we need to be talking to.
People who actually vote.
People who actually vote. I'd love for the youth to start voting. If you do, you're going to get the government.
It's a shame that the largest voter bloc in the country is also the most irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, how does that feel? Like, you're listening to this show right now. We're sitting here talking about you as a voter. If you're 30, I will go 39 or under. 39 or under. You are irrelevant in Washington, D.C. when it comes to your opinion. They'll placate to you, and they'll talk to the old people for you, but you're irrelevant at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what you do.
A threatening letter you send to your congressman doesn't matter.
No.
Because they're not going to do anything for your demographic. You know who does? Advertisers and marketers.
Yeah, you are buying stuff.
Yeah, because you are buying stuff. Yeah. You'll definitely buy stuff.
You'll show up at the store, but you won't show up at the voting booth.
Yeah, exactly. I've made voting about as easy. Don't even believe any of the hype from the Democrats about how it's hard to vote and voter suppression. That's BS all day long. There's no that is. You can go and vote if you want to go and vote. Nobody's stopping you.
I literally get a ballot in the mail.
Yeah, they will mail it to your house. You don't even have to leave your house.
Yeah. I get a ballot in the mail. I fill it out. I put a stamp on it and send it back in. Yeah. That's it.
You can go online. You can see all the people that are running for office. You can look at all their platform positions and where they stand. You can make a decision to leave your house to do that. If it's that easy and you still won't vote, then you just ain't going to vote. wrong, and you can get mad at me if you want to. Like you can get on. Oh, Alex is being mean to me and telling us that we don't matter. It's not me that made you irrelevant. I didn't do it.
We went and voted.
Yeah, we went and voted. You did it to yourself.
Comes in the mail. It's real easy.
A little bit of personal responsibility in this one can go a long ways. And we're still going to go out there. We're still going to try to get the youth away. But you know what? At the end of the day, the politicians are laughing at you. I find it. They laugh at you, and they laugh at you. Nothing you can do about it because you're not going to change. At least in their minds, you're not going to change. I have hope that you're going to change. And maybe we're trying a new tactic now with guilting you. Like maybe that'll work. Maybe guilting you will work. Because everything else, talking nice to you or telling you that you should vote didn't work. Putting it on MTV and giving, putting some kind of, a cracked out movie star up there to tell you to go and vote didn't work. Insults and guilt will work.
Got to put a saxophone playing stoner up on the ballot to get him to show up and vote.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Clinton will get you out there. I can't believe that we're... How in the heck are we running into this, by the way? How are we as a society going with another Bush against another Clinton?
We've got the husband of the 92 election running time.
Unbelievable. Husband. Always funny that you say husband there.
Well, there's somebody in that relationship that has testicular fortitude, and I don't think it's Bill.
I can't believe that's what we're going to be coming up against here. I mean, and then that talk already, which is it's so dumb to even bring up the presidential. But to see that it that is a strong positive, like if you're a betting person, the betting money would be on Bush versus Clinton.
Yeah.
That's where the betting money would be at right now.
Uh-huh.
The Republican primary looks like it would be, Bush that would win it. And the Democrat primary is even worse. It ain't even like there's a challenge going on with Clinton.
Can you think of anybody that has a chance of beating Hillary Clinton in a Democrat primary?
Maybe Warren.
Maybe Warren.
Elizabeth Warren.
The best shot is Elizabeth Warren, and I don't think she really has a shot.
No, and I don't think she does either. But, I mean, if anybody has a shot right now, unless somebody comes out of the woodwork. Like
Someone came out of the woodwork when Obama won because everybody said Hillary. Nobody had a chance to beat Hillary.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No. It's possible to happen again, but I don't think so. So the Democrats are going to be all in line for Hillary. The Republicans are going to be all in line, or eventually will be all in line for Jeb Bush. And Libertarian. And we'll actually put up the best candidate.
Well, we never stopped laughing at you. We'll still be laughing at you.
And the part about it is that the Libertarians will put up the best candidate that's running for office.
Yes.
And that's not... You take any measurement about where somebody stands ideologically wise, their executive experience, their business experience, any of those things, and our candidate, which more than likely will be Gary Johnson, will beat them hands down. He was reelected. He was a two-term governor. Reelected. It was a 2-1 Democrat state. Vetoed everything he could possibly veto, and was reelected by Democrats
as a Republican. And governing in a very libertarian manner.
Yeah. Just saying no a lot.
He was a member of the Republican Party, but in practice, his governance.
Correct. And so it's going to be nice to see. Again, we're going to have the best candidate. So we're going to say, well, kind of better. Close. It's not even remotely. There's no way that either one of these two are better than the candidate that we'll have in any measurable thing other than the amount of money that they get from special interest groups and campaign contributions. Because in that aspect, Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush will beat Gary special interest money that they get from organizations that are trying to pay them off.
Oh yeah, by far.
Is one area that I have to give it to Clinton and Bush on. So let's go ahead and we'll take a break. When we get back, we do have a Florida Cannabis Action Network legislative update that we want to do, and also some information on our most favorite politician, sarcasm needed there, Rick Scott. You listen to Liberty Underground.
is Gary Johnson, and you're listening to the 7 Radio Network.
Facts about the red light cameras. Fact, you are guilty until proven innocent. The Fifth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution grants you the presumption of innocence. Fact, red light cameras cause an average of 40% at intersection with camera. Fact, cameras punish technical foul violations. Over 80% of tickets are written when the red light is on, under 1/2 second. Join the fight at www.banthecams.org. www.banthecams.org.
Liberty starts with a like. Facebook.com/Liberty Underground.
If you received a ticket in Florida, or Pesa Law offices, 800-774-9883 or tacklemyticket.com. Attorney or a Pesa understands the stress of being charged with a traffic ticket. In many non-criminal ticket cases, there may be no court appearance, no points, and no traffic school. Attorney or a Pesa handles criminal violations, DUI, and license suspension matters. Don't face these serious legal matters alone. Initial consultation is free. Call now and you will be advised about any potential defense, constitutional violations, the possibility of having your driving privileges restored, or preventing a suspension from going into effect. If you've been classified as a habitual traffic offender, driver's license suspension matter, or a pending DUI case, call Ora Pesa Law offices now so you can be advised about your particular case. Call 1-800-774-9883 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or visit tacklemyticket.com. Main office in Pinellas County and serving all of the Tampa Bay. tacklemyticket.com. Mention Liberty Underground and get 25% off.
You know, Going Postal offers shipping with UPS, FedEx, and they're a full-service post office. And Going Postal is not just your one-stop shop for shipping. They offer copying, laminating, faxing, packaging, and they even have a notary public service. Visit our friends at Going Postal at the following convenient locations: Palm Harbor at the corner of Tampa Road and County Road 1 in the Sweet Bay Plaza, St. Pete on 66th Street just south of Tyrone Boulevard near Publix, and be sure to visit their newest location, 595 US 19 North at Alderman Road next to Publix in Palm Harbor.
When the unthinkable happens, it doesn't matter if you save in 15 minutes. It doesn't matter if your neighbor has the same insurance you do. In this moment, what matters is the quality of your independent agent and the company that stands behind them. Auto Owners Insurance has been recognized as highest in customer satisfaction with the auto insurance claims experience 5 years in a row by J.D. Power and Associates. For award information, go to jdpower.com. Call Row Insurance in Newport Richey today, 727-30030.
Welcome back, Liberty Underground, 1787network.com, 1787network.com. You know, I do like the higher mic, Greg. I got to tell you, I'm glad that I raised the mic up here. I don't know why I didn't.
Better raise up.
Raise up! Raise up the mic, boy! All right. Now, we talked a little bit before the break about Amendment 2, that it didn't pass. But if you know anything about politics or how you get things passed in the state house, or how you can get legislation put forward, there's more than one way to do this. One of the ways is which to do a ballot initiative and to get it on the as a constitutional amendment. But there's another way to do it through the legislation. Now, the one good thing that happened from Amendment 2 is that it did fail, but it failed with 57%, which means that the majority of the people actually voted for it. But because in order to change the state constitution in Florida via a ballot initiative, you have to have 60%, that it required that you had to get to the 60. So even if the majority wanted it, it doesn't change the fact that you need 60 in order to get this thing to pass. But Jody James, who's the executive director at the Florida Cannabis Action Network, now they're, and they have been for many years, of trying to change the legislation or change marijuana policy in Florida via the legislation. And I think that they had a big victory last year when it came to Charlotte's Web. And that in and of itself is some of the framework that you can use to expand it to other things that they try to do up in Tallahassee. So they have a strategy, but it really does the people to be calling your representatives. We couldn't get you to vote, so maybe we can get you to go and do this instead. So what you want to do, there's a website, flcan.org. That's flcan.org. If you go there, you can get the updates from Jody. You can join. You can get their action alerts from their email. You can sign up for their email newsletter, and you can get their action alerts and informed as to what's going on in Tallahassee, because the politicians did see the 57%.
Yes.
They know now that there is going to be a ballot initiative put forward that they will more than likely get on the ballot for the 2016 election cycle. They also know in Florida that it is a veto-proof majority Republican-controlled House and Senate up in Tallahassee. But they also understand that in presidential elections that the percentage of the vote goes, and typically it goes up when it would vote for Democrats. So they are going to be more concerned and more worried in this election cycle when it comes to a lot of their individual seats up in Tallahassee than they would be for any of the big seats. And don't think that the Democrats aren't going to be running a lot of people, along with some libertarians and some other candidates. But you're going to have a lot of that happen, and they can cut this thing off at the pass by allowing for it in the state of Florida. Whether they'll end up doing that or not is a different story, and depending on their base of people that show up to either oppose what they're going to do, we'll see. Again, I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I think it is well worth the time to go up there and to talk to your legislature. Okay? So, well, we'll see what happens with that one, though. We'll see what happens there. Any comments on this, guys?
No, I know kind of some of the legislation that's going to go on up there, and I'm really excited about a lot of it. I think that with the 57%, it was nearly 58%. I think you're going to see some expansion of what was passed in Charlotte's Web. So I think that you'll start to see where, the legislature is going to be more willing to open that up to different strains and things like that. So, I'm hoping that we see hemp legislation. So I'm hoping that the hemp legislation maybe be able to pass through, because we need to separate that out, that, hemp is not cannabis, that hemp is not marijuana. Strains of cannabis, but they're not the same. You're not going to get high off of hemp ever.
Yeah, ever. Yeah, you can smoke a forest of hemp, and the only thing you're going to do is you're going to die from smoke inhalation. That's what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything from. You're not going to get high. You're just going to get smoky.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we can get things like that, and really start to educate the public on the difference, and some of the differences in the strains of medical, where if you're going to say that Charlotte's Web is okay, helping a very specific, cannabis is just like any other medicine. You need different types to treat people different. It may be the same type of medicine, but you may need a different milligram or dosage to help each person. And this is the same way when you're talking about medicinal cannabis. So to allow for one strain, it does help people, but it helps a small amount of people, where if you had a different dosage, you're going to be helping more people. So I'm hoping we get some of those done as we go, and but I'm looking at this in a very positive light, and I think that because of how many people were willing to say yes to the Amendment 2 initiative, I think you're going to see legislators that are going to be much more willing to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. 57% doesn't get a ballot initiative passed onto the Constitution here in Florida, but it will change out a senator or a state house seat. So I think these people realize that their jobs are in danger if they don't do something about this. They can't just rest on their laurels on this issue, because the voters do care, and the voters are going to vote that way. And so they need to do something.
I think if they don't do something in this next legislative session, or even 2016 legislative session, 2 sessions to work this out, I think the marijuana amendment amendment coming up on the next round in 2016 will pass. It was close enough this time. They've reworded it to kind of end some of the criticism, and it's a higher voter turnout. It's a higher voter turnout on a presidential election. So it's not just Republicans have a very steady voter turnout. It increases slightly in a presidential election, but it doesn't increase that much because the voter turnout is very steady to begin with. But there's a huge fluctuation in Democrat turnout between a off-year election and a presidential election. So I think is going to make the Republican legislature not want to see that higher turnout come out in 2016. So they may do something legislatively.
Yeah, we'll have a little better results because during the presidential election, TV time's going to be a little hard for Grady Judd, so he's TV down in it so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the one takeaway that I really did get from Amendment 2 and the opposition that came from that in 2014 was people that hold this more when it comes to this issue are willing to act in this manner. That even I was a little surprised on how much they're willing to lie.
Yeah.
There are some people out there that, and again, I always find it to be funny. There's a lot of people that look at the Libertarian Party, and then one of the things that they say is, well, you guys are all about weed. And that is so far from the truth. But weed is an issue. It's a big issue. Because there's a lot of problems that are offshoots because of the marijuana issue. Because of the hemp issue. The marijuana is only half the story. The hemp is the other part. Hemp is not a drug that you're going to get high with, but it's a product that can be used in so many different applications. And the fact that we're not allowed to grow it in the other part is really an injustice, and it actually hurts us economically. Mm-hmm. Where it would be a big gain economically if we were able to use hemp, grow hemp in the state of Florida, but we're not allowed to do that.
Well, that's the reason why we talk about weed all the time. That points out how failures of government policy affect things in a greater manner. There are waves that come out from what is happening that affects everything else. So we talk about weed a lot because we go into the drug war, and then we go into how the black markets and how the restrictions affect the economy, and how all this money has to be spent and federal government to fight this drug war. And so it's a very big issue that has tendrils that go out all over the place into policy that aren't necessarily directly affected by weed. So that's why we talk about it a lot.
Well, and not just that. I think that also is the drug war itself has been. I think that the drug war itself has been such a monumental failure, but it's been a monumental failure in creating that you have right now, but also creating that you have police departments that are, taking items from people that they shouldn't be taking. You have drug raids that are going to the wrong address that are hurting people that are totally innocent, that didn't do anything wrong. They weren't. It's not even that they had the drugs. They didn't even have the drugs, but because the police are so trying to get their drug money, and they're so proud of getting the drug money that they're willing to harm some innocent civilians in order to make it happen. And they'll apologize for it later on, but they're not fixing those situations that they wronged. They were wrong in some of those situations, and yet they're not doing anything to fix that, though. And I think that's a big problem, and it's allowed for so much more militarization of our police because of this. I think it needs to be stopped, and it needs to be stopped right away. And the police need to focus on victim crimes that somebody, robbery, theft, death. Those crimes are ones that the police do need to be involved with. And because they're so busy and because they make so much money off of the drug war, it stops them from the other stuff that they should be doing. And it fills up the court system. It costs us as a society so much more money in fighting this when it could be. If you have a problem, if you think that drugs are a rampant problem in the country, look about alcohol and tobacco, because that's killing a lot more people than marijuana is, by far. Nobody's dying from weed unless the cops are shooting you.
Which happens.
We can solve that problem quick. So, but let's get to our favorite politician, one that loves the drug war, a gentleman that probably lives off of the drug war, Rick Scott.
Different kind of drug that he lives off of. That would be bilking Medicare.
Well, I would argue that it's probably also the. But other than that, go ahead.
Could be. Rick Scott has gained a lot of criticism in the last week or so because it seems like his administration is becoming more of a revolving door of people quitting.
Well, yeah, or being forced out.
Now, a lot of these people are saying that Rick Scott is saying that they're resigning. Well, actually, Rick Scott isn't answering any questions. Big shocker. There is some controversy surrounding the Florida Department of Law Enforcement Commissioner Gerald Bailey, who's basically resigning after being there for 30 years. And now there's a lot of rumors that he's being forced out. And Rick Scott was asked if he was being forced out, and all he kept saying over and over again was Gerald Bailey did a good job.
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today and showing their support to my candidate.
So, they were like, no, but, it looks like he's being forced out, that, everyone said that he's done a good job. Florida's crime rate is the lowest that it's been in 43 years under, this commissioner. Why is he being let go? And no matter how many times they asked, Rick Scott's reply was Gerald Bailey did a good job.
Here, I know that today's show hasn't been really positive on the hour that we've been doing it here, and it's not going to be any more here. At least with this comment. If I was Rick Scott, I wouldn't answer any questions either. Why would you need to? You got reelected answering questions the way that he answered questions.
Yeah.
The citizens of Florida, at least the ones that went out and voted, decided that Rick Scott is allowed to answer questions in the way he answers them, and that there is no ramifications or punishment for answering in this way. So if he wants to be insulting to the citizens of the state of Florida, you know what, guys? You asked for it. You're going to get it. You got 4 more years of not answering questions and crony capitalism up in Tallahassee. And I hope you're happy. Democrats, you're losing. And for the Democrats, you're losing people because of your unprincipled stand with Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist is damaged the Democrat Party much more than they already have.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing. Because, again, we want the Democrats damaged too, along with the Republicans. But you got, and your stance to we're going to go with Charlie Crist, this is going to cost you, and it's going to cost you a lot. We personally know of Democrats that are leaving the Democrat Party because of your guys' support of Charlie Crist. And then to, insult a Democrat and Nan Rich,
right?
That you shoved her aside to bring in this former Republican. To pay for that.
A lot of Nan Rich supporters were very put off by the way she was treated, and either had left at the time, like literally right after the primary, or are thinking about leaving later on, in the coming years. They were so off put by someone who had been a leader in the party being treated so poorly, someone who was over to the party from the opposition.
Yeah, you're the super minority in this state for a reason, guys.
Yeah.
You are the super minority. As bad as the Republicans have been, you guys have been worse. And really, in all reality, the Republicans up in Tallahassee are doing what you would want them to do.
Yeah,
this
really
is the stuff you would vote on had you be up there. The only difference is that they're getting the credit for it instead of you guys getting the credit for it. Because you'd spin it real well of, we need to give the because, they need to have it or whatever. But again, you can get mad and say, well, the Republicans are so bad. You guys are just as bad, if not worse. You guys still elect horrible people. You have some real authoritarian psychopaths up in Tallahassee that have a D next to their name. That I add that they're not in charge either.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see Darryl Roussan in charge of anything up in Tallahassee.
FDLE commissioner is not the only person that's leaving the Scott administration. The head of the Department of Transportation has also resigned. But the top policy director for the administration, which is Grace Swoop, who was basically touted as the one bringing all these non-existent jobs to Florida. But someone who was saying, was they're saying was successful in bringing jobs to Florida is also resigning next week.
Yeah, more people resigning out of this administration. Who could blame them? Again, this is by far one of the worst administrations that we've seen here in Florida. It unbelievable that he got reelected into office. It was only because of the competition, why they wouldn't put the actual good piece of the competition on TV. They wouldn't allow Adrian in the debates. The one that was horrible, that was, a big baby about it, Charlie Crist, they let him have it all day long. And you guys wanted Rick Scott, in my opinion. You wanted Rick Scott to win this election. Obviously, you wanted Rick Scott to win this election if Charlie Crist was your answer.
Yeah. Now, Gerald Bailey from the FDLE is saying that there was no way he voluntarily resigned. He was forced out. And he said that anytime the governor says that he resigned, that's just completely untrue. Now, there was some growing tension with the Rick Scott campaign and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. And you'll remember that there was a bunch of officers that had no idea that they were there for a campaign event. They thought they were there for just we've had the lowest crime rate in 43 years. Let's tout that. And all of a sudden realized it was a Rick Scott campaign event. And Rick Scott came under a lot of fire for this. And they're saying that kind of grew some tension between the departments, and that forced the commissioner out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no. Rick Scott doesn't like what's going on. Of course. Now, the funny part about it is that Rick Scott is, in all essence, and that what he will do and what cowards do is that they'll say one thing publicly, and in the background, they'll do all the nasty things that they wanted to do when it comes to forcing this guy out. He doesn't have the courage of his convictions to actually say that what happened. He has to, hide behind, he did a great job. Why is he resigning? If he did a great job, you should be treating him well. Do that, Rick Scott. You took the coward's way out. Same thing when it comes to certain legislation that he knew wasn't really popular. What he would do is he would not sign it publicly, or he would send somebody else down there to talk about it instead of him talking about it himself. But that's what we get. And that's what you Republicans want. Republicans want the crony capitalist Rick Scott, the corruption that his administration, and that if you stay in that party, then you're supporting that. Just like if you're party, you're supporting Chris.
It's the same thing with this trial. Oh, I don't know if that's my signature.
Yeah. What's the definition of is,
yeah. Well, and, everyone's favorite attorney, Pam Bondi, is... Not
my favorite attorney, by the way.
Is not only continuing to defend the gay marriage ban, even though it's wildly unpopular, she has also been defending the use of blind trust for people like Rick Scott to hire, millions upon millions of dollars in blind trust. And this way you have no idea how much public money is being shuffled into their investments.
Yeah. Yeah. It's another one of those bad situations, but Pam Bondi, she was cute, she was blonde, you reelected her. And that's the only reason that she won. She didn't win because she's been doing a good job.
Or she's smart, because the one debate that they had, and there was only one, if you were to hear her, I don't even know how she became a lawyer.
Yeah. I would not want her defending me on anything.
Yeah, this sounded like a bumbling idiot when she was talking about things. She had no real concise statement on anything. She just kind of floundered around, and she kind of took Rick Scott's cue by just repeating the same thing that didn't make any sense. Just say it over and over again, eventually we'll ask the question that coincides with...
What the heck?
Can we just send her back up to the Chesapeake Bay to deal with something up there and tell her to leave us alone?
How do these people win office, man? How does it happen?
I don't understand. I just don't.
We talked about it earlier. Most of the largest voting bloc in the country isn't paying attention or vote. That's how.
Yeah.
And I had this, and I didn't put it up there, but I did want to talk about this. In Miami, the police are coming under fire because they're using for target practice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I heard about this one.
We saw this last night. The North Miami Beach police are using old mugshots as shooting targets when they go to the range.
Do we get mad at them for using mug shots or get happy that they're recycling the paper?
Here's my thought on this. It's just bad taste.
Yes.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with using a body target at a shooting range. This is a mugshot of actual people.
Yes.
And you're using this as a way in which to, practice your shooting. It's just in bad form. Like, do you not understand what is currently going on right now? Like, you should. This just looks horrible.
And think about this. If it was the other way around and regular citizens were using images of police as targets, you would have a SWAT team
at your house.
And you would get a body cavity going through a bus station. You would be on every watch list.
Yeah.
And you would never travel freely again.
Mugshots don't ever necessarily imply guilt. That's just that in and has a mugshot. Many of these people could have been found not guilty, had no evidence really against them. These are just mugshots are literally the police arresting someone and saying the court can figure if you're guilty or not. So this does not imply guilt whatsoever.
And you would probably hear no one getting upset about this if it was like, oh, they're using the mugshot of a convicted cop killer that's on death row and waiting to be executed. Right. Nobody would care. But just random mugshots.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a problem. All right, guys. Well, this is the show this week. The website, 1787network.com. 1787network.com is the website. Remember that this show is 3 hours in length. So if you want to hear the first 2 hours, go to our website. Click on the YouTube. The first 2 hours unedited. So go ahead and listen to that. I'm sure you'll have a good time with it. We'll see you guys next week.